Cutting from the net, upstairs, Bardown, goal. That was massive.
What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey, episode number 152, presented by the Bar Room Network. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I love cookies. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he loves popsicles. Frank, how you doing?
And Pop-Tarts, and brownies, and cookies, and churros. There's a lot of like.
Churros. What's your favorite churro filling?
I'm a plain guy. Give me a plain churro.
Okay.
Let's not dabble around with the fillings. There are some great fillings. I know at Brookfield Zoo, they sell Oreo churros, which are great, and then they also branched out into some select grocery stores as well. But normally I'm just a normal churro guy, and the reason I bring up churros is because I saw a post by Oreo today that on March 27th they will be debuting their Oreo churros, or not, Oreo churros, churro Oreos, but they're not like. I'm pretty sure it's a golden graham cracker. It's not the chocolate. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not the chocolate cookie. It's their Oreo churro filling or whatever. So I'm excited about that. I want to try them.
That sounds incredible. I'm very down for that. So, churros taught me to be open-minded with things. 2 summers ago, 2021, I ranked every churro at Guaranteed Rate Field for SouthsideShowdown.com. And I went into it thinking caramel would be my least favorite, and either plain or chocolate would be my number one favorite.
Mhm.
Plain was dead last.
Caramel's probably amazing.
Caramel was number one.
I love caramel anything.
I don't. I'm very select with my caramel. I like caramel. I
Yeah.
think bad caramel is disgusting. Good caramel is warm and delicious.
Is there anything such as a bad caramel though?
Yeah. I don't like, you're going to think I'm crazy. I'm not the biggest fan of like a Laffy Taffy apple.
Really?
Like, I like them. I like the ones that are super coated with like either Oreos or M&Ms, like the ones we buy around Halloween. Those are really good. Hello to Tom and Paula. Thank you very much for joining. The plain ones though, I don't just love that plain caramel on those. It's just not a fan. But coated, love them. Absolutely love them.
Are you a fan of like the caramel candies, like the chewy caramel
No.
squares,
Nope.
cubes?
Nope.
No.
I
See,
think
I like
it's like
that a
those
lot.
kind of caramels, but like warm, oozy caramel, like you get in a churro. Love it.
What about
Absolutely
hard
love it.
caramels?
No,
Like a Werther's caramel, like that
Nah.
you suck at? No, really?
not a
See,
fan.
I'm all for all that. So
I like warm, buttery, fattening, Halloweeny, churro-y caramel.
now I want to go to Guaranteed Rate just for the caramel churro.
Well, I
That
think we
sounds
should.
Fantastic.
At that point, you got to try them all, though. Like, we'll cut them in half, and each.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's
If we
only 3.
each, there's 4. They make
What's
a
the 4?
strawberry one too, and the strawberry one's pretty good. I know it doesn't sound like something that would jump off the table at you.
No, I mean,
I liked it. I expected it to be, near. I still think I would rank it third, but that doesn't mean, I would rank plain last, and I like plain. So that tells you everything I need to know about, what I feel about the rest of them.
I
So
want to try them.
100%.
I'm like that with anything, though.
Yes, me too.
I got to try it all. If there's so many, I got to try them all.
Yep. Well, Frank, we should go to a Sox game this year when they play the Mariners or the Cubs, whoever it is you want to see them play against. We should do that. I'm very excited for baseball season, though, but we're not here to talk about baseball season. We are here to talk about hockey, and we are going to do that in period number 1. Frank, you were gone last week. We didn't have an episode of Bardown. I guess I was gone too. You were celebrating your anniversary. Congratulations to you and your
Thank you,
beautiful
VP.
lady. Very
Thank you.
happy for
Thank
you
you.
guys.
A lot of fun.
I love love. You know me. I love love.
We had churros as a dessert at the
Oh,
restaurant.
very,
Churro
very good.
waffle fries.
Very, very good. I love to hear that. You
Yeah.
guys are wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But one thing we didn't get to talk about as a result of your anniversary is the trade deadline. Now, we were last live the day before,
Mhm.
and while we were doing our last show, you can argue there were more actual trades made on the Thursday, but there were a handful of significant ones made on the Wednesday as well.
Mhm.
So we didn't get to recap all of them in the last show. So we're kind of just doing the trade deadline from scratch here. All of these guys, except for one, have played with their new team already. Most of them have already scored their first goal. At least, in fact, I'm looking at all of them. They all have, except for the one that hasn't made his debut with his new team yet. But we're going to start with the guy who was considered to be the big fish in the trade rumors going into the trade deadline this year, and that is Pittsburgh Penguins former forward Jake Gensel, who is a Stanley Cup champion. I'm pretty sure he might be the active goals per game in the playoffs leader. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure he has like 34 goals in 50 something career playoff games. And like Sid and Gino have played so many playoff games. Patrick Kane has played in so many playoff games. The Nate Dogg, all these guys. I don't think their goals per game is as high as Jake Gensel's. Now, their points per game is probably higher.
Mhm.
But Jake Gensel, he snipes in the regular season and he brings his game to a new level in the postseason. The Carolina Hurricanes, the
That's
team that
big.
acquired him, they went out and got him. What are your thoughts on this trade, Frank? I know you
He
like it.
It was a great trade because, the Carolina Hurricanes, um, they've haven't really been known for a ton of scoring. They play a lot of low scoring games. It's always like the 2-1, 3-2 games. And Jake Gensel has been fantastic since coming to the Carolina Hurricanes. Another 3-point night last night. I mean, when you're a big name on the trade deadline, market, you're marketed as like, oh, the next blockbuster trade's gonna happen, and that being Jake Gensel, you have a lot of hype to live up to, and he's lived up to all of it. He's been great, perfect fit in Carolina. I like the Carolina Hurricanes. I root for them. I mean, if they win, I'm happy for them. So good for them, but he's proven to be a huge asset since acquiring them.
100%. The Carolina Hurricanes, they don't. I think the world of Aho and Svechnikov, I'm not sure. I think they're like B tier stars. Like they're stars. I don't know if they're
Mhm.
superstars. Jake Gensel's probably the same thing, but he's higher end and he's higher end goal scoring. Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov and Teravainen, Nietzsche, these are all guys who I think are set up first.
And that's
And
the
then,
problem with the Hurricanes.
yeah, like the lack of a pure goal scorer. You're
That's why
worried
they
about
don't
him.
make deep runs in
Yes,
the postseason.
yes, I agree. And I love a Seth Jarvis on the second or third line. Like he's just like
Yeah,
a dog, kind of in a
I
way.
like him. I
Like
like him.
he's like rowdy. He's
Mhm.
not taking anyone's crap. He's not too finesse, but he's very skilled. He could score a crap ton of goals. I think you put a guy like Jake Gensel with the Stanley Cup pedigree that he brings to the table. He did win the second of the two back-to-back Stanley Cups that the Penguins had. The following year, they got eliminated by Washington in the second round, and I'm pretty sure Jake Gensel had like 10 goals in 11 games that year or something like that. Like it was something insane. The fact that the Capitals were able to get past them and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup as well, is big. But Jake Gensel, man, he's going to provide a lot to that offense.
Wait.
And, another player I wanted to touch on with Jake Gensel, I wrote him down a little later, but we're going to talk about him right now, is Evgeny Kuznetsov. You can argue that although he was traded for next to nothing and he was in the AHL at the time of the trade, you can argue that Evgeny Kuznetsov is the most skilled player on the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, from a pure skill point of view, when he wants to be amazing, like nobody has a career high that Kuznetsov has in points on that team. The amount of assists and play driving that he's done in his NHL career when he's in the right state of mind is elite. And I think adding Kuznetsov and Jake Gensel to that top 6 over there in Carolina, I mean, they had one of the best deadlines for sure. I think the world of what, and he looks revamped there. I've watched a couple games. His first game as a Cane was actually against the Devils, so I watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
And he was just unreal. He drives offense. He's pretty much revamped their entire second line. And I stand by what I said. I think not based on production, that would be Aho or Svechnikov or Gensel right now, but based on overall pure ability, I would say Evgeny Kuznetsov is the elite of the elite on the Carolina Hurricanes when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think going to the AHL was one of the best things that happened to him, honestly, because since he's come out of the AHL and played with the Hurricanes, we don't talk about his production a lot, but he's been productive. I mean, he's reached a third of his production already that he had with the Capitals in 6 times as many less games, which is fantastic. You're getting that out of the 31-year-old Evgeny Kuznetsov, who's, recent seasons have been on a decline, but like I said, going to the AHL and finding yourself on a new team, he's been lights out with Jake Gensel. Once again, contributed last night. I mean, these are the acquisitions Stanley Cup contending teams want at the trade deadline. They got 2 big ones. Everything is rolling right now for them. And Evgeny Kuznetsov, yeah, he's not going to get, that 80-point ceiling that he's had before, but he's definitely somebody you want on your team come March.
I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. I'm looking. He didn't play with the Hershey Bears. He didn't get in a game. The Hurricanes kept or traded for him in time for him to avoid becoming the highest paid AHL player ever, not on
Yeah,
a
I thought he did
non-conditioning
play. He
stint.
didn't play.
He didn't get in a game. I'm looking on his page right now. He's never played in the AHL. He went straight from the KHL to the NHL in 13-14. He's played in the World Cup, International World Championships. Didn't appear in a game with the Hershey Bears, which I don't know if you consider that a good thing or a bad thing. He certainly was with the team. I saw him in Hershey Bears practice gear. He was there for like a week. I think they played 2 games with him still getting back to, because don't forget, he was also on the player assistance leave
Okay, yeah.
before coming back. And right when he was reinstated by Gary Bettman from the players assistance leave, they put him on waivers, sent him to the AHL, and then he got traded to Carolina. So
But even that I still think's good. Even if he didn't play again,
absolutely.
you get a mind refresh.
Yep.
You're away from the NHL
Yep.
arena, the team. You have a different mindset. You actually become a mentor when you go to the AHL. Like on this Carolina Hurricanes team or on the Washington Capitals, yeah, there are guys that look up to you, but nobody looks up to you more than when you're in the AHL and you're with a bunch of young guys and you have a different role there. And like, even if he didn't play, just being in a different atmosphere, I just think he needed a break. And it's proven statistically to work out in his favor so far.
Absolutely. And it's something that it's almost like he got a little bit of a refresh, which is something that he desperately needed, because his off the ice issues were clearly enough for him to take the player assistance, and he got himself all figured out. And when Evgeny Kuznetsov is in the right frame of mind, putting hockey first, he is one of the most skilled players really in the league. For a long time, we thought that Kuznetsov with Backstrom in Washington was, one of the top center duos in the NHL. It was a reincarnation of the 2-headed monster. And, Ovechkin could play on either of their 2 wings and he'll score 50 goals, talking about like 4, 5, 6 years ago. It didn't matter who he was playing on the power play. They're both impressive. He had the Eagle celebration. I mean, he's just one of the most electrifying, which he has done since being a member of the Hurricanes. It's just really good to see it for him. From a human being point of view, I'm super happy for him that he's finding success with the Carolina Hurricanes. And you know what, Frank? It's hard to think of a more dangerous team in the Eastern Conference right now.
They're
It really,
very good.
really is.
Very set up.
We're going to talk about our winners and losers from the deadline and stuff like that, but like it's hard to argue with them, the Florida Panthers, probably the top 2 dogs. Some people like the Rangers. The Rangers and Bruins both are really good, but they both have shown me, they need to go on a hot run in order to be able to compete with a Florida or with a Carolina. I like the Leafs too. I know every year, but they did win a first round last year. They got over that hump. I think if they won the Stanley Cup this year, it really shouldn't be all that surprising now that they got that first round series win under their belt. And Florida beat them, and they ended up going to the Cup. So it's not like they lost to a nobody. You can't say the Leafs choked last year. You just can't. Did they play as well in the second round as they wanted to? No, of course not. But everybody loses eventually except one team. So those are my top three, I think, right now. And the Bruins and Rangers are close. Can't count out the Lightning. You never know what happens with the wild card teams, but I like what Carolina's doing right now. It's solid. Real good with these two players. Frank, Jake Gensel was the biggest name going into it, but I think the most surprising name to come out of it to be traded was Tomas Hertl, who was traded from the San Jose Sharks to the Vegas Golden Knights. Another year of Vegas putting one of their highly paid players on the long-term injured reserve. You no longer hit the cap, and you could just trade for whoever you want at the trade deadline. Hertl is one of the players that they picked up. Nobody saw it coming because he's got lots of years left on his contract. Normally, players with that much term don't get moved no matter how good they are. No matter how good they are. Hertl's a little hurt. He hasn't made his debut with the Golden Knights yet, but that absolutely brings another element to their team. I used to say Marian Hossa to me is like the S tier two-way winger. Like if a winger could win the Selke Trophy, Marian Hossa was like it. Obviously you have the Taveses and the Kopitars and Bergerons and even a guy like Hischier or Barkov. Those are all centers, though. I'm talking about wingers that play like that.
Right.
You got, Hossa was the S tier, the number one. And then I think of like who's a tick below him. Patrick Elias, over 1,000 points, elite two-way game. Mark Stone, kind of in that A tier. If Hossa's S tier, that A tier, Elias, Stone. Hertl's in that B tier. Two-way winger, really, really good defensively, will contribute tons of offense. Now he goes to Vegas. I mean, this damn team.
This team, VP, is just, they're cooking without Hertl, and he hasn't even made his debut yet. They're struggling a little bit more than you might have expected, maybe preseason. I think this team's got a lot to work on, but then again, it's just one of those teams like the Lightning. Like you make the playoffs last minute, and they're a whole different team come playoffs. They won the Stanley Cup last year, a lot better last year statistically, but Tomas Hertl is going to bring such a different dynamic to this team. Almost similar, but obviously not quite as skillful as Jack Eichel. But when Jack Eichel came to this team, it's like, holy crap, we're going to have it. Jack Eichel, a pure goal scorer, a playmaker, and Tomas Hertl. He's going to put up the points. He's going to put up the goals. And I think that and a little bit of defense is kind of what Vegas is hurting for right now because of the injuries they've gone through. And I can't wait to see him make his debut. I don't know how far along he is or when he's expected to make his debut. I'm assuming it's soon, but I think this deal is going to go a long way. And I think they're going to start preparing for potentially another parade in the near future, because I think the assets that they pulled at the trade deadline, oh my God, I would not be shocked if they won the cup again.
They pissed a lot of people off. And
in what way?
Manipulating the long-term injured reserve salary cap again. But it's well within the rules. They did nothing against the rules. I'm not one of the people. Right. I wish if the Devils were doing that, I'd be like, idiots.
They're smart. Exactly. They win cups because of it.
Exactly. Now, if Stone is magically good to go on game one of the playoffs, it wouldn't shock me if the NHL makes a rule change. Like, it just wouldn't. Like, you figure out a way, like, if you don't play game 82, you can't play game one of the playoffs. Or if you miss the 10 games leading up to playoffs, you can't play in the first round. I do think there's a chance that they collectively bargain a way to get teams to stop doing this. But until they do, why would Vegas stop?
Right.
And they're going to find a way. I don't care what anybody says. I'd be stunned if they don't find a way to keep Marchessault after this year. The guy's your all-time leading scorer. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy. He's one of the Golden Misfits. Would I be shocked if they were cutthroat with him? No. but like I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna find a way. I mean, his stats
They
this year.
should find a way to keep him.
He's not even. People don't even realize what he's got. 38 goals.
I know.
I
Well,
mean,
he's doing most of the scoring because the scoring's been a little hit or miss with the Vegas Golden
Yeah.
Knights, which is another reason why I think Hurdle's a great ad because, like I said, they're injured. So like he's been doing a majority of the scoring, hence why they've been kind of on a lull. They're like 4-6 in their last 10. They lost their defense has been pretty bad too lately, but yeah, he's been doing the majority of the scoring. 38 goals. I wouldn't have guessed that he's like about to get 40. He will get 40 this year. That's crazy to even
he
think about.
could
To be
push for
honest with
50 if he gets hot.
he's got to get real hot. It's 50 is not out of the question, but yeah, 40 is a given. But yeah, he's been great. I don't see a world where he leaves, honestly. Next
I'd
year.
be stunned. And Jack Eichel, he's their best player. 21 goals, 31
Oh,
assists, 52 points, and only 49 games played. He
Right.
missed like a month. So, if he played the whole season, he'd probably be 70, 80 points by now as well. I think they're just so good. And if Stone does come back on game one of playoffs and your top six is some form of Stevenson, dude, they have so many freaking elite centers that Stevenson might play wing. He might play wing. And
Stevenson's great
you
too.
have Stevenson, Eichel, Marchessault, and then Stone with Hurdle and Eichel. And I didn't even mention Wild Bill, who's probably their third line center at this point. And I'm watching them play the Devils the other day. Wild Bill is low-key one of the greatest penalty killers I've ever seen. He is just unbelievable. They don't win anything without Wild Bill. He's not as offensively productive as he was in year one, but in year one, he was playing first-line center. I believe if he was playing first-line center again, he would have near 40 goals. He'd 30 minimum. And he'd get close to 40 goals again, but that's just not his role anymore. His role is to do what he needs to do to help the team win. I mean, I don't even know what does Wild Bill have right now. William Karlsson has 24 goals and 22 assists in 56 games, so he will break 30 goals. And I think if he had more ice, he'd freaking get close to 40 again, like he did in that first year. I mean, just an absolute stud muffin. They have Barbashev. They traded for him last year. He's unreal. They got him locked in long term.
The whole team is unreal.
And then we'll get on to our next guy that we're going to talk about, Noah Hannafin.
They needed him.
Hannafin is so underrated. He went 5th overall in 2015. So it was the McDavid draft. It went McDavid, Eichel, Strome, Marner, Hannafin. What a top 5. Even Strome, pretty good player, 20 goal scorer this year with Washington. Pretty good couple years with the Hawks, 60 points, whatever. Not a star. He'd probably go near the bottom of the top 10 if the draft were redone, but still, he's a really good player. Hannafin, though, he's been a stud defenseman everywhere he goes. Watching him play against the Devils the other day, he had 2 assists. He makes things happen. And with having Hannafin and Pietrangelo on the same pair should just be illegal. It should be illegal. I mean, Pietrangelo is probably going to go to the Hall of Fame, but Hannafin is a really, really good player, and he's their number 2 now. I cannot believe they got that trade for him done. You win championships by having solid blue lines and being strong down the middle, and Vegas absolutely has both of those things, especially adding Hurdle and Hannafin. I don't know what your take is on adding him, but the offense is not, he's not Rasmus Dahlin or Erik Karlsson in terms of offense. He has 11 goals and 28 assists for 39 points in 67 games. That's really good for a two-way defenseman. But I mean, just the presence that he's going to bring to that blue line is just unbelievable. He played at did I say he was at BC? Yeah, he went to Boston College. And Jack Eichel, who went 3 picks ahead of him, to the Buffalo Sabres, went to BU. And they played each other in the Beanpot. And I remember the first Beanpot I ever watched. They were the storyline, Hannafin versus Eichel, BC versus BU. And now they're teammates together in Vegas trying to win a Stanley Cup together. It is just absolutely unbelievable. I'm so happy for Hannafin that he's able to be on a team like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on him going to Vegas?
Well, they needed him desperately. Vegas has been giving up a ton of goals this year. And, you can't really fault them giving up 5 to the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. They played very well against the Devils, only gave up 1. But then before they gave up 4 to Calgary, 4 to Seattle. I honestly think this is the worst defensive showing from the Knights in their existence. They've been so bad defensively this year, and I think they recognized it, which is another reason why they wanted to go get out Hannafin. Petrangelo's not healthy right now. He didn't play yesterday. They need Hannafin because it's not all about the statistics when it comes to this type of defenseman. Great shot blocker, averages more than 1 per game. You need that. Great with taking the puck away from the opposition. Plays 20 plus minutes a night on average. Like, this is a defenseman who grinds. This is a defenseman that the Vegas Golden Knights desperately needed, and I love it. I hope you weren't expecting me to hate it, because this is it's a fantastic pickup, and another reason why I say they might be planning a parade again soon. I mean, we'll see. Huge acquisition.
Absolutely. I would laugh at you if you said you hated it. He's better than Hurdle. Hurdle's more exciting. Hurdle will score big goals, and he'll be a big body in the slot, and he'll tip in pucks and play good defense as a forward. One of the best defensive forwards in the league, in my opinion, when you evaluate how good they are on offense as well. Hannafin is a bona fide top-paired defenseman. That is some of the most important things you need in hockey. And, oh, man, the fact that he's on the Golden Knights now they need to get in. They need to be healthy. Eichel needs to play. I don't know. They're not going to have Stone back before the playoffs. They can't afford to have Stone back before the playoffs. You're not allowed to have a $140 million roster in the NHL. But, I mean, just absolutely unreal stuff by them. I can't wait to see how he contributes long-term. It's already been impactful offensively. Hopefully they're able to keep the puck out of their net. With Hurdle, I think there's also a little more interesting because of the Sharks Golden Knights playoff series of the past. I think they played each other in the playoffs a couple times, and Hurdle had that, he had a couple big plays he made to lead that Game 7 comeback for the Sharks a couple years ago. I think he scored one of the goals, assisted on another on that 5-minute power play when Cody Eakin tried to kill Joe Pavelski. But yeah, man, Vegas is sick. If they get in, I know the Wild are hot and Vegas is cold. I think the Wild are only within 3 points right now, or 4 points. But I think the Wild can get in and it not be Vegas that comes out. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Nashville kind of teeters a little bit, but it also won't. And it won't surprise me if the Wild don't make it at all. I just don't think Vegas is going to be one of those teams on the outside looking in. I don't at all.
I don't think Nashville could really fall unless they really shit the bed. They've been so hot. They haven't lost in regulation in 10 plus games.
Yeah.
So they've been collecting the points.
Yeah.
But Vegas is one of those teams. It's like, don't judge a book by its cover, because you look at them and they have 79 points in the standing. This team is talented enough when fully healthy to be a 100-point team. So if they open up as an 8 seed and whoever they have to play against in the first round, don't look at that. Just because they're a wild card 2 team doesn't mean they're not capable of completely smoking whoever they have to play, whether it be Colorado or Dallas or whoever it may be.
Imagine winning the West in the regular season. Oh, we're the Western Conference champions of the regular season. Some teams put up a banner for that. Like, that's an accomplishment. Yep. I know we make fun of Nashville because they did it and then, lost in the first round or like to the Hawks. I forget the exact scenario. But, I mean, some teams put up, or I think it was because they had a ceremony for it. Some teams just silently put it up without saying anything. Mm-hmm. It's an accomplishment to have the most points in your conference in the regular season. Vegas first round. Are you kidding me? What?
I would consider picking Vegas.
I would pick Vegas
because
unless it's Colorado, I would think about it.
Stone's going to come back, and all these guys are going to get healthy. Petrangelo will be fully healthy. Freaking, you got Noah Hannafin. Tomas Hertl will be on the lineup. Yep. Like this team, a 79-point Vegas team, is not. It's just, you don't see the full iceberg. You're only seeing the tip of it.
Couldn't agree more, Frank. Couldn't agree more. And it's going to be very fun to watch. I love watching Vegas. I mean, the East, which we'll get to in the second period, the East has a bunch of crap. The West is like, it's the first year in probably 5 or 6 years, probably since the Hawks were real good. It's probably the first year since then that the West is better. The West is better than the East this year. I don't even think it's really close. That the top, we're going to get to the Central Division, but like one of those teams is going to be out in a week and a half. Like, that's crazy. And Vegas is just, Vegas is just the cream of the crop. Love what they do. Honestly, I would if my team did it, I wouldn't complain one bit. So that's why I can't make fun of them. But we move on to another top team in the West. Holy moly, Tyler Toffoli. The New Jersey Devils traded Tyler Toffoli to the Winnipeg Jets. For the Devils, you move on from Toffoli. He was slow. He scored a lot of goals, but I'm not positive he like fit in as well as I thought he was going to because of the speed didn't match the other forwards that he was on a line with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I think Andre Palat struggles too. It's one thing to be a little bit older, but some older guys can still skate like the wind. Toffoli just at 5-on-5, he didn't strike me as one of those guys. There's a reason Timo Meier has 11 goals in his last 10 games since Toffoli was traded. He kind of stepped into that top slot and has been absolutely raking. But then you look over to the Jets, he fits in. So the Jets don't rely on speed and stuff like that. The Jets rely on skill and being big and tough and being in the
Patience.
right place. And Tyler Toffoli, he really, really matches that. I love what he's bringing to – and don't get me wrong, Toffoli was good for the Devils. I liked having him. But, like, giving him all that money for long term, I just don't think – I think trading him was a better option, especially with the way the season's gone. And, now he's on to Winnipeg, one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and so far so good since he arrived there. He's been on fire. But, your thoughts on Toffoli?
Yeah, Tyler Toffoli and the Jets, it's like more of a patient game. They don't rely on speed, like you said. They rely on going for the more skillful plays, kind of playing with not as much pace as you would use if you're talking about like a basketball game or something. There's not a lot of pace with the Winnipeg Jets. And yeah, that suits Tyler Toffoli a bit more. It does suck, though, the Devils losing him, obviously. Like, you're losing a 30-goal scorer. I mean, it's rough for the Devils. And, Tyler Toffoli's on for bigger, better things. I mean, it's a great pickup for the Winnipeg Jets. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm excited. I don't think it's going to make the Jets this dynamic team because they picked up Toffoli. Like, obviously, if they picked up Gensel or somebody or another, even somebody not as skillful as Gensel, but even a Hurdle or trying to figure out somebody like a lesser known player who's still very good, I think would have done better. I don't think this acquisition by the Jets is going to be like you're going to win the cup now for sure. Like you're a Stanley Cup contender. Like you're already a Stanley Cup contender, but this doesn't make it like, oh, we're dominant. We're going to just sweep Colorado type of deal. So I'm not really I can't say like, oh, this was fantastic for the Jets, in my opinion, because I think the Jets, I don't know. They really didn't need a Tyler Toffoli, in my opinion.
I understand what you're saying. They just wanted to beef up their scoring a little bit. He has done that so far.
Right.
It's another depth scorer that
But they haven't been like
Winnipeg Jets.
winning more games with him or without him. I mean, I've seen the same trend. It's like you take him off the team, you're going to win the same amount of games. You have Tyler Toffoli on your teams, you're getting 95 points this season with or without Tyler Toffoli. Now, maybe it'll benefit him in the playoffs a little bit more because he's a great player to have in the playoffs. We've seen him with the Kings and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. For the regular season, for right now, doesn't float my boat any more than it would if he wasn't on the team.
I completely understand what you're saying. They would have finished exactly where they're going to finish with or without him. But you made that's the point. That was going to be my counter argument. Tyler Toffoli is a Stanley Cup champion. He had other I think he was on that team that lost to the Hawks in the conference finals.
Yep, he was.
He was part of that 70s line with Tanner Pearson and Jeff Carter. You remember that 70s line?
Oh, yeah, of course I do.
Iconic, honestly, for the Kings.
And that's why they picked him up, I think.
And people forget this. He was in the Stanley Cup final with the Habs, too, when they lost to Vegas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or not. No, they didn't lose to Vegas.
No, they lost.
They beat Vegas to get to the Cup. They lost to the Lightning.
Uh-huh.
It was that weird COVID year where the two Atlantic Division foes played each other in the Stanley Cup final because of the division realignment. But he's been in the Cup final with them, too. I mean, he's everywhere he goes, winning has followed. He was on that weird Vancouver team that, like, stunned the Zach Parise, Ryan Suter Wild in the bubble. Like, the Wild were supposed to kill the Canucks in that playoff series. And that Canuck team, with Toffoli, they beat the Wild. And I think they might even won the next round and lost to the Stars. I don't remember. But it was, he's always making deep runs everywhere Tyler Toffoli goes. And, so maybe the Jets were like, hey, this guy brings it in the playoffs.
100%.
Yep. We will see.
They didn't get him
Um,
to try and get extra points in the standings. I won't believe that. I don't think that's why they got him. They got him for pure playoff point of view, I think.
Yep. And I used to think that winning the Central Division was like paramount. So you didn't have to play the other team that also didn't win. So like if you're Colorado and you win the division, now you don't have to play one of Dallas or Winnipeg in the first round. That was the thing last year. Like, hey, let's win the Central Division so we don't have to play the other guy that didn't win. But this year the winner's going to get stuck with
And
freaking
it isn't
Vegas, maybe.
And isn't that kind of what the Devils did too with him,
What do you mean?
with the Foley? They got him for his playoff experience.
I would probably say so. They also wanted a beefy top nine, like a lot of goal scoring in the top nine. Most of their best players are playmakers first.
Mhm.
I mean, I think when you think of Heischer, you think of like a two-way type, Selke type, goal scoring, but also a ton of assists centerman. Jack Hughes scored 40 last year, but I still think people at the end of the day consider him a playmaker first. He's absolutely more of a playmaker this season. He's got like double the amount of assists as goals. Same thing with Jesper Bratt. Scores tons of goals, but I still think he's a playmaker first. I think they just wanted another goal scorer along with Meyer.
That's fair.
So, but yeah, playoffs is certainly something he would have helped with. Whether the Devils make it or not, looking like not, I still don't think Tyler Toffoli is like the game breaker for them, and that's part of the reason they took the picks instead. But yeah, we shall see. We move on. Alexander Wenberg is traded to the New York Rangers. Scored his first goal with the Rangers last night. I think it was last night. I like this move for New York.
Yeah. Wenberg. It is a good move for New York because I'm kind of not high up on New York like everybody else is. I think there's.
Look who you're talking to.
I think I don't want to use the F word, but I think they might be leaning towards fraudulent. But there's something about the New York Rangers where they're winning tons of games. Where are they even in the division? They're leading their division.
They're first.
Yeah, they're first.
They'll choke it to the Canes, but they're first right now.
There's something about when I'm watching Rangers games. I don't know if it's because I always had this like stigma about them, but it just seems like they're so slow. Like the games are so boring. They're slow paced. I don't want to watch a lot of Rangers games, and they're winning games though. I mean, that's just their style of play, and I think Wenberg is kind of a breath of fresh air in a way. I mean, yeah, he's on the older side. He's not a 23-year-old. 23-year-old who's just going to run rampant through the arena, or skate through the arena. But it's like, I like this move. I do like this move because these are the type of guys also you like to see acquired at the trade deadline. It's not all about the blockbuster moves. It's about the littler moves as well. And while Alex Wenberg by no stretches, a minor type of player, I mean, he is, but he's going to add a lot of depth to the Rangers team. And I think they need that because what I've seen from the New York Rangers so far, I don't like what I see. It doesn't pass the smell test. And I agree with you. They're going to choke it away to the Hurricanes. Like, no doubt, I would say.
Now, if they choke it away to the Hurricanes, I think we'd all pick them to beat Philly in the first round and/or Washington and/or the Islanders.
I disagree with Washington. I'm high on Washington right now.
I'm high on them right now. I would pick the Rangers to beat them in a playoff series.
Really?
And I think you would too.
I don't know.
Well,
Not 100%.
If they did, and then let's say in the second round, if they played the Hurricanes, I would probably pick the Hurricanes, but I'd be hesitant. If the Rangers make it to the conference finals just on the basis of the Metro kind of being a joke this year, I wouldn't be too surprised. The Metro's way worse than anybody thought it was going to be. A large portion of that is, the Devils not playing well. It's pretty much, and the Penguins. It's pretty much those two teams' fault for the Metro being considered stinky. Although I think the Devils will rise and the Penguins will continue to fall, I'm not certain it's going to be the case this year. Some Dougie Hamilton's got to come back. But it's a shame, though, because if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year the Flyers were going to be a surprise good team, and same thing with Washington, I would have been like, oh, baby, the Metro's going to be so good. The Devils, the Hurricanes, and Rangers are all at the top. And you're telling me the Flyers and Capitals are both going to have these surprise sick years? the Metro is going to be the best division in the league. No, just a lot of mediocrity. There's 2 really good teams and then like 4 mediocre teams, all within 6 points of each other. I mean, you look at the standings, and this is what gives me hope about the Devils. As trash as this season has been, they're within 6 points of the third place team.
Mhm.
The Devils, Islanders, Capitals, Flyers, all within a handful of points of each other. It's a stinky division. And I do think the Rangers, I'm looking at the stats. Artemi Panarin is 5th in scoring. I mean, the Breadman has 94 points.
Mhm.
He has 38 goals. He won't finish top 3 for Hart because I think there's 4 guys competing for the Hart Trophy right now: Matthews, McKinnon, McDavid, and Kucherov. But I mean, he'll be top 5 in Hart Trophy voting, I think, because he's just done so well for the Rangers. I like what Chris Kreider's doing, as usual. Adam Fox is one of the best defensemen in the NHL. They have 2 really good goalies playing well.
Yeah.
The Rangers have the recipe, but I don't know. The fact that all their best players are like well over 30 now is a little scary for their future.
They're turning into the Penguins about everybody getting old.
Yes, except the Penguins won the Stanley Cup 3 times with Letang, Crosby, and Malkin. So, I don't know. I do like the Wenberg trade, which is the whole reason we're talking about the Rangers, because last year they went out and got 2 guys who are considered stars, and it messed up everything for them. They did not play well after changing all that chemistry. Wenberg will go into the bottom 6, middle 6, whatever it is. He'll fit right in. He's
You
already
don't
done
gotta
it so
change
far.
much.
Exactly. And sometimes it's those little subtle moves that, I mean, the big trade fish every year almost never wins the Stanley Cup.
Right. You don't
Almost
have to go
never.
out for the big fish. Sometimes it's
No.
about the smaller moves you make.
No, and I liked the Devils trading for Timo Meier last year, but that's because it was a long-term thing. He's going to be a really good Devil for a really long time. It wasn't a rental. And if the Carolina Panthers don't win the Stanley Cup with Jake Gensel, you know who he's playing for next year. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Who do you think?
If Jake Gensel is not a member of the Minnesota Wild next season,
You
I
think
will
so?
jump off a cliff. I
Why?
would bet. I'm so
It's gonna be a
set.
one-man show.
No, what do you mean? The
You
Wild
said you're gonna jump off a cliff.
Oh, I thought you meant him going to the Wild would make the Wild the one. I'm like,
No,
if
no.
Jake Gensel went to the Wild, they could be a
But
cup
why? What is
contender. He's from Minnesota. Well, I think I forget where he went to college. He's a Minnesota boy. His family's there. The Wild are going to pursue him. I wholeheartedly believe that it makes sense for them as a team. They have Kaprizov and Boldy and Rossi, Faber, Eriksson Ek. I mean, they have a core put together, and they just need a star or 2 to join Kaprizov as like the upper echelon. And I think Rossi and Boldy can get there. The Wild are going to be very good very soon. I told you, once Parisi and Suter are gone off their books, the dead cap, the Wild I told you they might suck this year. Guess what? For the most part, they've sucked this year. They're hot right now. Fleury was the 3rd star of the week. But yeah, I think Jake Gensel's going to go to the Wild. I really do.
Wow.
Well,
That'd be
I mean,
interesting.
we'll see if I double down on that or not when we make our free agent predictions over the summer. But I like the Wild next year. I'm going to get back in my Wild form.
You should, because they're not going anywhere this year.
No. If they make the playoffs, I won't be shocked. They've been hot lately.
They have been hot. They're only a few points behind.
I know.
But toppling Vegas is always a tall task.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. I almost don't want them to. Be a bottom 10 team. Take your chances. Oh, and if they won the lottery by the sake of God, and you add Gensel and Celebrini in the same offseason, I mean, they're a cup contender. Now, if I were Celebrini, I'd go back to school for another year, no matter what team drafts me. But maybe I'm not stupid. I think that's smart. But most people don't think long term when it comes to that. Like, I wish Jack Hughes played a year at Michigan so bad. But you got to be patient with this stuff. And the Wild are. You remember I said I'm not saying they're going to win the cup with this core. Winning the cup is always guaranteeing a core to win a cup is the stupidest thing you could do. Like, I want this Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier Devils era to lead to a cup, but I'm not sitting here guaranteeing it. One team wins the cup. 3 or 4 years go by, and all of the sudden they're in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
It'd be longer than 3 or 4 years for them, but like it goes by fast, man. It just things here and there. Not every team with great elite cores win the cup, but the Wild will compete, and I don't know. I'm excited about it. This all came from talking about Wenberg going to the Rangers.
I know.
But another player of mine that has been an all-time favorite is Adam Henrique. Adam Henrique scored one of my very favorite goals in the history of the NHL. He sent the New Jersey Devils to the Stanley Cup final in 2012 over the New York Rangers. I mean, it was against the Rangers. It was Game 6. It was at home at the Rock. Zach Parise, Ilya Kovalchuk, Martin Brodeur, Patrick Galiash. It was amazing. It's my favorite team ever. And Henrique has had a special place in my heart ever since. He was traded to the Anaheim Ducks in 2017 in exchange for Sami Vatanen. Well, he's finally no longer a Duck. He was traded to the Edmonton Oilers. Now the Edmonton Oilers have an embarrassment of riches of players that could play center and wing.
Mhm.
Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman. All these guys can play center or wing. We'll see what Henriquez ends up doing in the postseason, but he scored his first goal with the Oilers. It was either yesterday or the day before. He's on the board with the Oilers, though. What a team, what a player. Your thoughts on Henrique to Edmonton?
Remember when they were dead?
Yeah.
Now look at them.
All-time bad take by me. Not all-time bad take, all-time overreaction.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't really wrong. I mean, you are.
They were dead.
Right now,
They
but yeah,
were
they were
dead.
terrible. Adam Henrique, what you see is what you get with him. I mean, he's doing what he's done for the past decade, really. I mean, Adam Henrique has never been a player that goes above and beyond his means of what you expect for him. He's always been that 40, 50 point guy. Like, he's 34 years old and he's still getting exactly what you expect. He got 18, 19 goals this year, 40 something points. That's what you get from Adam Henrique. And, so much when you talk about the Edmonton Oilers, are like, oh, when McDavid and Draisaitl aren't scoring, there's nobody else on the team who could score, which on occasion that is true. Adam Henrique is going to try and play the narrative where that's not true and where he could chip in and score and produce. And Adam Henrique, I think, is a very underrated playmaker as well. And I'll see where he fits in. I don't know if he'll play on the power play. I would assume he gets obviously one of the two power play lines, but I'd like to see what he would do with McDavid or Draisaitl, because I do think Adam Henrique is a pretty decent playmaker, more than many others would maybe not think about him because he doesn't rack up a ton of assists, but I think his mindset, he is a very good playmaker. I'd slot him on a power play unit with McDavid and see where things go. Like, put him on a wing and see what happens.
Yeah, Adam Henrique has been a good tipper of pucks, net front type guy in his career. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they ended up doing that.
Put him on the PP1.
Underrated defensively, too. I talk about defensive forwards a lot. Henrique could play center, so I'm not necessarily saying he's, Tomas Hertl as a winger. But I think if you did put him on the wing, he would put up similar, probably not as many points, not as many goals, but up there for sure. Always clutch. When you're in overtime, I'm throwing Henrique out there no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
With a skilled player, like a skilled playmaker with him. But yeah, I like this move for Edmonton. Subtle little move to get Henrique in there. And I'm so happy I was wrong about my Oilers. I was just frustrated, honestly, because when the Devils stink, I have the Bruins, of course. I root for the Bruins, for JP. I root for the Chicago Blackhawks, but they suck. They're the king of sucking right now. And I need a late night team. Every year I have a late night team. For the last handful of years, it's been my Oilers. The Canucks have kind of joined the bandwagon too. I love what they're doing. I love watching Quinn. But I mean, when you want to show someone hockey for the first time, if someone had never seen hockey before, and I wanted to get them into the sport, I'd show them the Oilers. It's just how it's been for the last 5 years. I love when they're good. I love when it's 9:30 and everyone else is getting ready for bed. And what's VP going to do? Because he likes to stay up late. You watch the Oilers. And the fact that they have crawled out of it, I don't know if they're going to catch Vancouver for the top spot in the Pacific.
No,
I don't really think they are. It's so hard to make up 6, 7, 8
they're
points.
like
It's
8 points behind, I
possible.
think.
It's possible, but I don't think they're going to. I think a lot of Oilers fans are probably rooting for the Kings to keep winning some games so that the Oilers could play the Kings in the first round instead of Vegas. Um, I don't I don't see that happening. I think Vegas is going to end up in third, and play the Oilers in the first round. And like, even if the Oilers beat Vegas, like let's say they pull out a game 7 victory, how are you going to go on to round number 2 against Vancouver after Vegas just beat the shit out of you for 7 straight games? I mean, whoever beats Vegas, I don't see them winning the following round.
That's fair.
It's just, so if I'm Edmonton, I'm hoping they keep their foot on the gas and either win the division and avoid Vegas, or the Kings just keep playing well and, um, get into that third spot. So you could play, it would be 3 years in a row playing them in the first round,
Yeah,
which is very odd.
we
But
need
I
an
mean,
alignment,
yeah,
or
seriously.
we need
But I
something.
mean, it's becoming a great rivalry, and they're two really fun teams to watch, the Kings and the Oilers. But you know, I'm excited to see what Edmonton does going the rest of the way. McDavid's probably not going to reach 1,000 points. Probably close. Will he have 100 assists? I think he'd be the 4th player to ever have 100 assists in a season. He needs like 20 in the final 15 games. It sounds like no, like you would think no, but like this dude put up 6 in one game already, like a couple times this year. Like, don't count out McDavid. Count out McDavid if he's 10 assists away with 1 game left. That's when I would, if he was 10 assists away with 2 games left and he had a chance to have 2 5-assist games back to back, 10, I wouldn't just declare it over. I would not. I'm sorry. And, it's exciting. They were in overtime yesterday. The Habs played a good game against them. I tweeted about it. The Habs played a real good game against them.
They
And
almost won.
they almost won. They get to overtime though, and McDavid, he looks like he's going to shoot, and it almost looks like it's not that skillful of a play. It honestly looks like one of those, I could do that kind of plays, but he just made the subtle little pass to Draisaitl, did not miss. Game over. Oilers win. And Draisaitl didn't even look like that happy that he scored. He's like, yeah, that was easy. When we get to overtime, nobody could beat us. We're the best. So love what I'm seeing for the Oilers. And then Frank, really quick, we have a couple more to touch on, but we could roll over Vladimir Tarasenko a little bit because I'm pretty sure it happened before our last show, but I don't remember how much we dove into it. He's on the Florida Panthers and he fits in real well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dangerous team the Florida Panthers are. Vladimir Tarasenko, he's going to be dangerous no matter where he goes. Yeah, it didn't work out in New York. It really didn't work out in Ottawa, but I think the Florida Panthers are a much better fit for Vladimir Tarasenko. And he scored. Does he have? I think he's got 2 goals so far with the Florida Panthers. So, I mean, watch out for them too. I was wrong about them. They look good. Fits in like a glove.
Yeah, I'm a huge Vladimir Tarasenko fan. Let's see. With the Florida Panthers, he has 2 goals, 1 assist, 3
Yeah.
points in 5 games. I mean, he's not going there to be their superstar. They have
Right,
Barkov,
right.
who's just absolutely unreal. Matthew Tkachuk is just stupid awesome. And I wouldn't be shocked to hear after the season if like the top guys on Florida went into some kind of meeting with the GM and was like, let's bring this guy in. We're going to get his confidence going. And then once the playoffs come around, and don't forget, the tank show starts when the playoffs begin. Vladimir Tarasenko is very Jake Gensel-y, where he'll be great in the regular season, but he'll be super elite in the playoffs. I'm not talking like Brian Bickle. Brian Bickle was like a 4th liner in the regular season and a star in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Gensel and Tarasenko are like all stars in the regular season, but superstars in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it before when he was with the Blues. He even scored with the Rangers last year in their series against the Devils. He was awesome. And, it's when he's there, you move Cousins down. Tarasenko's in the top 6. You have, on defense, you have Ekblad and, who am I forgetting? Who's the other stud defenseman on Edmonton or on Florida? Montour.
Brandon Montour, Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah, and they're getting real good production from Forsling. What a boneheaded move that was by Stan Bowman to put him on waivers. You give up on a 23-year-old defenseman because he stinks on your stinky team.
Well,
Get
he
out
did
of
a
here with
lot wrong, so
yeah. I mean, I don't know if they are going to um, bring back both Montour and Ekblad during the offseason. It wouldn't shock me if they like try to change something up on defense if they don't win the cup. But I don't know. I love from top to bottom with Bob and goal. I mean, they are unreal in
Bob's good.
Florida. And adding Vladimir Tarasenko to the mix is really, really helpful for them. Oh, we didn't even talk about Verhage. Reinhart is second in goals. I mean,
Sam Reinhart, oh my God, this dude scored goal of the year.
goal of the year. How about assist of the year from Barkov on that play? Unless you're talking about something else.
No, I'm talking where he flipped it over. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
incredible.
Barkov's assist.
It
Oh
was
my God.
it was incredible.
Absolutely. And again, he picked a wonderful year to have this probably 50 goal season. I think he's at 48 right now.
Hmm
He'll break 50 contract year. He's
I
going
think
to make
Sam
a
Reinhart's one of the most dangerous players in the NHL.
yes, and
Honestly,
he might have to switch teams if Florida doesn't want to pony up for him this offseason,
could
which
come to the Hawks.
they'll find a way to replace him. They'll find a you know what? That's going to be something every time a big winger hits free agency.
Soon, eventually, it's going to happen.
Like, I'll go play with Bedard.
Yeah,
I mean, eventually, maybe they'll have too many where they stop becoming that team. But like, also you can put them on the power play. Like, there are lots of ways you can
there's a
want to
lot of
play.
options.
Yes. But yeah, the other big trade that I wanted to touch on, one of my all-time hockey crushes, not for his looks, but for the way he plays, is Bowen Byram. I wanted the Blackhawks to draft him third overall so bad, and I feel even more validated in my estimation back then. Right now, he goes to the Buffalo Sabres. He was not. He was probably the number 3 in Colorado. You can argue he's the number 3 in Buffalo, but also you can argue he's the number 2. Either way, he skates like the wind. His offensive abilities through the roof. He gets much more ice time in Buffalo, and he
Production's
goes to
way up.
Buffalo way up, way up. Because although Darlene and Power are amazing, Darlene is top 10 in my opinion. Cale Makar is top 1. Okay, and you're always taking a backseat and you're taking a backseat offensively to Rasmus Dahlin, but Bowen Byram, he could just bring so much more to that Buffalo Sabres team. And Casey Middlestat comes back to Colorado, and he's been the perfect second line center behind the Nate Dogg. It's hardly these days that you see a hockey trade. And what people mean when they say a hockey trade, oh, Vinny, they're all hockey trades. They're the NHL. No, what that means is each team made a trade for a player that will help them win now. That's what a hockey trade means. You're not trading for a prospect that'll help you in 3 years. You're not trading for a draft pick. No. Buffalo needed a forward. Buffalo needed a defenseman. Colorado wanted a forward. They traded one really good player 1-for-1. I think there was a pick that went back and a couple things exchanged, but it was a hockey trade. And it's working out super well for both teams so far. They've both been unbelievable. I like it for Buffalo. I'm not going to say more because Colorado got what they needed, but I'm a huge Bowen Byram guy. Huge.
He's been great. Production's been up. I mean, yeah, it's going to help the Sabres out, obviously. The Buffalo Sabres, yeah, they're disappointments this year. I mean, it was my hot take that they were going to end their streak, their playoff drought. And
They're
we're like,
going
well,
to.
why is it not this year? But and then we're like, well, why is it a hot take if they had? Well, the reason it's a hot take is because even though they're supposed to be a little bit better, they haven't done it in 12 years. Once again, disappoint us. But this Buffalo Sabres team is coming along well. It is. And Bowen Byram, yeah, he's not a Blackhawk VP, but he's finding success many other places. Good luck to him. And the Sabres might be his home for a while.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. And I could see them trading Owen Power now at some point
Wow.
because they're not going to get rid of Darlene. Darlene is one of the best. He scored two goals yesterday. I see you don't believe in them being 5 points out.
Too
It's
many
hard to
teams
make
to
up.
jump over.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, they've been good late. It's just like, when are you going to stop being good in only February, March, and April? When are you going to have a good start? Or like they would be good in October and November and then fall off after that. Like, when is Buffalo going to put a full season together? I hope it's next year. I really hope it's next year. If it's not the Devils, they'd be my pick if I got to pick anybody to be that second wild card team. Like, if any of these teams could make that jump, I would pick Buffalo if I'm not allowed to pick the Devils.
I think Detroit's
Um,
cooked.
Detroit might be cooked because
They're playing
Washington and
so
the
bad.
Islanders. Washington and the Islanders. Well, Patrick Kane has been like willing them to wins. Their last 2 wins have been a direct result of Patrick Kane.
Yeah, and they
Like,
only have 2 wins in their last 10.
yeah. And they are both
Against-
Patrick Kane
yeah.
on Saturday when he scored that sweet goal against Buffalo. And then
Yeah.
yesterday, the OTGWG against Columbus.
Mhm.
Like, just unreal stuff from Kaner, which I'm not surprised to see in the slightest. But I really like Bowen Byram. I like Middlestat too. When Casey Middlestat it was one of the first World Juniors I ever watched, was when he was on Team USA, and Buffalo was super excited to add him. He kind of took a minute. Oh, he was drafted at the draft we were at by Buffalo, I think.
Um,
And so was Bowen Byram.
you used to have that thing we filled out with each team, and you wrote on the line. Remember?
Yeah, no, not Bowen Byram though. Bowen Byram was the Jack Hughes draft, but Middlestat was drafted in the draft we were at, and I'm super excited to see both guys in their new places. I hope Bowen Byram really continues to thrive because he just plays hockey defense perfectly. Like, everything about his game is what I would like model my game after if I were a defenseman. But it's exciting stuff. All right, Frank, I need 2 winners or 3 and 2 losers or 3 from the NHL trade deadline.
All right, my
And
2
then
winners.
if mine are the same, we'll just talk.
It's gonna be chalk for the winners, at least. My 2 winners are the Hurricanes and the Knights. The Hurricanes, huge winners, bringing in Jake Gensel, Evgeny Kuznetsov to an already elite Hurricanes team. The best moves that the Hurricanes could have made. These 2 players, like we talked about earlier, already started to show their dominance in their new home. It wasn't one of those trades where the players start out slow on their new team, like Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko when they went to the Rangers. Those trades for New York didn't work out, but the trade here has already proved wonders. Kuznetsov is almost point per game with the Hurricanes in his 7 games. Gensel's way more than point per game in the only 5 games he's played with the Hurricanes so far, including a 3-point night yesterday to help them get a big 4-1 road win over the Islanders. The trades are helping them win. That's what you have to do come March. And they're truly Stanley Cup contenders. Like, they're true Stanley Cup contenders. And that's the way how I feel about the Vegas Golden Knights. They're another team to add 2 big additions at the trade deadline. Noah Hanifin, Tomas Hertl. They also added Anthony Mantha as well. We don't talk about that, but the Vegas Golden Knights, they've never let the salary cap influence the way they run their team. People could be pissed about it, but they never back down and let the salary cap determine how they're going to run their team. They've always managed to make the big move one way or another, right? There are teams that struggle in the NHL to make minor moves. But this is why this team has been so successful every year. That's why they've been one of the most successful franchises since they've come to fruition. You have a GM like Kelly McCrimmon, an owner like Bill Foley. Very little goes wrong. Huge winners at the trade deadline. 2 Stanley Cup contenders I just brought up.
What about losers?
Oh, you want me to do the losers too?
Yep.
All right. You're not going to agree with one of them, I don't think. There's nothing. It's nothing personal. I have the New Jersey Devils as a loser in this trade deadline because you go for being a Stanley Cup contender, but instead you get rid of a top goal scorer like Toffoli. And yeah, it might have been the right move because they weren't going anywhere this year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're only a few points out. And you also dealt away Colin Miller to the Jets, the Winnipeg Jets. The Devils worked so hard over this past decade to create a winning culture and develop a winning team and organization. And they dealt away some of that work. And it's not the end all be all. I do think that they will be talented next year. I do feel that way, that they can make the playoffs on any given year, given the core they have. But I don't like the way they went about it at this trade deadline, to be honest with you. I mean, if you think that potentially the Sabres have a chance to get in, then maybe the Devils you would think have a chance to get in as well. I don't think so, just because it's hard to jump over so many teams, but they're only 6 points out, but that's a lot right now. And I don't like the way they've kind of given up some of their pieces and stuff that they've tried to build recently. But like I said, they still have the same core. I would just consider them losers at the trade deadline. And the biggest loser of the trade deadline, and maybe you'll agree with me, is the Los Angeles Kings. They ended the trade deadline. Did they make any moves? They made no major moves, but I don't think they made a single move. And this is a team that was picked to make the playoffs preseason. They got the guys on the team to potentially make a deep run, and you end up doing nothing at the trade deadline. When you take a look at the teams around you, the Canucks landed Lindholm earlier this season. The Vegas Golden Knights had a massive trade deadline, arguably the best of any team, and the Oilers added Henrique, Sam Carrick, Troy Stetcher, and you do nothing. Nearly every team in your division got better, but you just stay there, stand pat, not trying to match anything that happened around you. I mean, they're slowly dipping down the standings if they don't win, and it's just a horrendous losers. Terrible decisions by the Los Angeles Kings.
You know what, Frank? There are a couple things I agree with you on. I didn't name the Devils as a loser, but I mean they didn't win. They absolutely could be, and I don't love what they got back for Toffoli compared to what a lot of the other forwards got in return for their teams. The fact that they're in this position makes them losers right off the bat. I love their future, but you could call them losers at this deadline. There's no doubt they're in the team photo. Of the two teams I named were the Kings because they didn't make a single trade, even though they're cup contenders. And I also included the Pittsburgh Penguins. I hated their return for Gensel. I don't get how you don't get a top 5 Carolina
Yeah,
Hurricanes
that's
prospect.
rough. That's
The guy
rough.
who's nominated for the Hobie Baker, we're going to get to that in the second period. I don't get how that guy wasn't part of the trade. Like he's their 5th number 5 prospect. They have a couple guys over in Europe, a couple college hockey players. I don't understand how they
rough.
are not involved whatsoever. But I mean, yeah, I included those two teams as the losers. And then, yeah, my winners are the same as yours. I have the Carolina Hurricanes, who added Evgeny Kuznetsov and Jake Gensel. I mean, that's a absolutely monumental haul for them to add over this period. And then you have the Vegas Golden Knights, who were incredible. They once again do a bunch of things that make themselves better. I would also throw in, there was another team I was going to say that I would throw in. The Colorado Avalanche. They had a stud defenseman in Sean Walker. They get Casey Middlestat to help them with their forward group. I mean, they gave up a first-round pick next year, but they still have their first-round pick this year, which is hilarious. I like what Colorado did to kind of like supplement their team as a whole by getting the second-line center that they need. They signed Zach Parise, which will really help them in the long run with their third line. It's not a trade deadline acquisition, but like it's a subtle move to help them kind of put the team together once the playoffs come around. They have depth, guys who are in and out of the lineup every day because of how many good players they have. They can be deep when the playoffs come around. So I included them as a winner. I know I said only 3. I like Philly being in a playoff spot and still selling. They're still on their plan. They're like, we got Michkov coming. We have 3 stud goalies that we think one of them could be our goalie of the future. I really like that for them. And they were buyers they were sellers even though they're in a playoff spot because they're like, we have Torts, we have this team that's bought in, we could win and sell, and they got a first round pick in a year that they're competing for a postseason, and I like that business decision. There are some people who are like, win now at all costs. I'm like, well, you could win now at all costs and think about the future too, and that's what the Flyers did. So I think
do
they're
like
they're one of my winners too. If a team like Colorado or Tampa or one of the teams that's been there, done that, made a trade like that, I could see why people would be annoyed. But like, I hope Kyle sticks on that type of mindset over the next handful of years. Let's say the Hawks surprise next year. Connor Bedard has 100 points, which I absolutely am predicting at this point in time. Connor Bedard has 100 points. Taylor Hall stays healthy. Reichel ends up being a decent checking forward. Kurashev, does what he does, and they find a way to be a bubble team next year. I hope Kyle doesn't deviate from the plan just to make the playoffs and get swept by someone in the first round. Stick to the plan. even if you're surprising next year, that I like it a lot. And so that's why I'm giving my nod to the Flyers too, because they're doing the exact same thing a year ahead. But yeah, those are my winners and losers.
I like them. I mean, yeah, I mean, the chalk answers for winners, it's pretty clear cut. But no, I like them. And yeah, the Kings, I wouldn't even call them contenders anymore, honestly. They've disappointed. I'm so disappointed in them the way they handled this trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they didn't want to disrupt the chemistry or what, but I mean, you can't not. You
Everybody
can't.
around them who's better than them got better.
Yeah, name a team holding a playoff spot in the West, and I'll tell you a trade they made to make their team better.
Yeah, literally everybody.
Yeah, including the only one, like if the Wild made it somehow, they traded Pat Maroon. Like they sold, I guess you could call that selling.
Hmm.
But I mean, no, it's not like any team really didn't do nothing like they did. Like
Literally
they didn't do anything.
the three Pacific teams hovering around you, choking you, literally got tremendously better.
Yes, that's true.
It's crazy.
I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, Frank, that is the first period talking trade deadline. Let's head on over to period number 2. Frank, trade deadline is over.
Yep.
It's time to really buckle down and get ready for the postseason.
It is.
This is it. This is what we watch hockey
excited.
for all season long. You got the stretch run coming up here, final 12, 13 games, and then the
Yep.
playoffs are going to start. We're going to talk awards. We're going to talk draft. Speaking of awards, in your opinion, does Connor Bedard have the Calder Trophy locked up?
Without a question. He's going to win the Calder Trophy. He's been lights out. He got another point last night. Now he's up to 21 goals, 33 assists. In only 55 games, let's not forget. He missed 15 games due to his jaw injury. He was 20 assists behind Patrick Kane from breaking the Blackhawks rookie assist record. You know, if Connor Bedard didn't miss 15 games, who knows where his totals will be right now? I mean, we're talking like he's been so fantastic as a Blackhawk and could have been putting up numbers better than Patrick Kane did, obviously, if it wasn't for that injury. But he would probably also have a chance of breaking 30 goals, which still he technically does because it's Connor Bedard. But yeah, he hasn't missed a beat after his injury. This kid's a real deal. And that's just the bottom line. That's just the way it is. Of course, you got guys like Brock Faber and Peter Kochetkov in the mix as well. Both have been fantastic this year. You know how high I am on Kochetkov. I really believe Kochetkov will win the Vezina one day. I think he's that good. He's fantastic. But no one's pulling numbers like Bedard is right now. And it's not all about the numbers as well either, right? But just the way you look out there on the ice, like Connor Bedard's doing what he's doing on a bad Blackhawks team. Like he's just so silky smooth, and it's only a matter of time before he gets 100 points. Maybe that's next season, maybe it's 2 seasons away, but it's only a matter of time. He's got this locked up, and it's not even close in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with everything you said, except the only thing I disagree with is that you didn't mention Luke Hughes. He had another goal and assist yesterday. He's tied for third in rookie scoring as a defenseman.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance he gets a nod as a nominee.
He'll get some votes.
Yeah, I could see him coming in third, especially if he keeps racking up points. If he has 45 points, yeah, as a defenseman, I wouldn't really see a reason for him not to be a nominee. It kind of depends on how Kochetkov and Rossi finished too. You know, those are probably your top 5 at this point. I know Evangelista is having a good year. So is Zary, the kid in Calgary. I'm forgetting a big one. Oh, Logan Cooley, another really good year. I know Leo Carlson and Fantilli have dealt with some injuries. Otherwise, they'd be in this mix as well. Because they've both been like close to half a point per game throughout the season, which is about what a star rookie does. But it's Connor Bedard's. I think if
100%.
he broke his clavicle tomorrow, he'd still win.
Jesus
He'd
Christ.
still win the Calder Trophy.
Oh my God.
You think I'm way more powerful? I'm flattered at how powerful you think I am. If he did something to make it where he was done for the season, he would still win the Calder Trophy.
He
I
missed
mean,
15 games, and look what he's doing.
yeah, 18-year-olds with more points per game as an 18-year-old in your life. Number 1, Sidney Crosby. Number 2, Connor McDavid. Number 3, Connor Bedard.
It's
He is
pretty
having one of the
spectacular.
greatest 18-year-old seasons in the history of the NHL. I hope he finishes over point per game. Right now, I think he's at 0.99 or
Yeah.
0.98. Like, I would love to see him get over that point per game. Like, give me another 5-pointer, Connor. You'll probably lock up being point per game if you give me another 5-pointer.
He's
But
capable.
he's absolutely capable. It was nice to get that secondary assist on the Korchinski goal yesterday. Obviously, that helps. And Korchinski, he made a nice shot. It was a sweet goal on his part, but he does not find that open space without entering the zone and dancing around a couple kings to find Kurashev, who was then able to hit the open Korchinski. That was all work of Connor Bedard. That's one of those secondary assists, Frank,
Mhm.
that you're like, oh, that's why they hand out secondary assists.
Right.
Plays
I
like
like
that.
Korchinski too.
Yeah, me too. Bad game overall for him against the Kings. But, he got the goal to kind of redeemed himself a little bit. But overall, the season hasn't gone perfectly for Korchinski. But
Mhm.
I can't say if I was 19 and my father passed away, I'd play well either. He's going to come in next year with a lot different of a mindset, I would assume. He'll be ready to go. I'm sure this summer is going to be big for him in a lot of ways, both on and off the ice. I'm excited to see what he could do in the future. But knowing he has that clap bomb in him is really, really nice to know. Connor Bedard setting him up for years to come. He's the Calder Trophy. Like you said, I don't even think it's close. Faber
Yeah.
will come in second. Faber will come in second, and then you can argue 3 guys who could come in third, I think. I
Mhm.
hope Luke Hughes. I really do. Keep racking up those points. Yesterday, I thought he scored. I still think he scored. I woke up this morning. The first thing I did when I opened my eyes this morning, like on my phone, was check to see if they changed it because I thought for sure there was a chance they did. And it's Timo Meyer's 20th goal of the season. He ended up scoring his 21st later in the game too. But I thought it went off the defenseman. I did. And it's not Luke Hughes' goal. So we'll see if it's not going to change at this point. But
No,
Calder
that probably
Trophy,
not.
that's fun stuff. All right, Frank. In the Central Division, you have 3 teams that are all elite. Talk to me about the Jets, Avalanche, and Stars.
There's not a tighter 3-team division race in the NHL than the Central Division. You got the Jets, Avalanche tied 93 points. Third place Stars 91 points. I think right now, given where we are in this point of the season, I'd have to make the Avalanche the favorite to come away with the division, despite them having one more game played than the Jets. Obviously, I'm hoping that the Stars pull it out, but they've been so inconsistent the second half of the season, the Dallas Stars. They've been playing much better lately, but the way the Avalanche have been playing lately reminds me of shades of the team when they won the cup in 2022. And fun fact, VP, the Colorado Avalanche have the best home record in the league with the record of 26-6-0. So them winning the
Doesn't the
division,
dog have a point in every game too at home?
he does. He has not missed he's going for 41 home games an entire season at home with at least a point. I don't even know how many points he's at. The last time I checked, he was at 116. If they win the division, that would do wonders because they would have home ice through the entire Western Conference playoffs. They have the best home record in the league. I'm starting to see signs of how they performed and played from 2022 when they won the cup. This is a very scary team. Right now, I give them the edge to win the Central Division.
I'm so with you. And of course, I'm like all in on them because they have Zach Parise. Yeah, I love the Avalanche right now. I wouldn't want to play them.
Nope.
The Stars, they're not getting the goaltending that they should be from Ottinger.
Nope.
I think he's elite, but he's having a bad year. I think it's March. We could say it. He's having a bad year. It
They've been
happens
inconsistent.
to every goalie. Every
Yeah.
goalie has 1 year they can look. Every elite goalie, Hall of Famer, can look back at 1 year and they're like, "Yeah, I probably didn't play at my best that season." Ottinger is having that year right now, and I don't think they're going to win the cup as a result, unless in the playoffs he figures it. I guess I shouldn't say that. He could be like Bob. Bob was having an okay year last year, not great. It certainly wasn't one of his Vesna years, and basically this year is one of his Vesna caliber years. I think he's going to come in second. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not all in. And the Jets, I want to believe in them. I just believe in the Avalanche more.
Oh yeah.
And with the depth that they have, they're getting decent goaltending. They have Makar and Taves on defense. It's one of those elite pairs in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I think Taves will be a Team Canada guy. He'll be Makar's wingman. He'll make the team so he can play with Makar. He's like the perfect partner for him. And that's just how I feel about the whole thing. I don't know what the matchups would look like if we had 1 through 8 right now, but I can't imagine one of Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado would be guaranteed to be out after a week and a half if we had the original. That's just hard to fathom that one of those teams is going to be out after a week and a half of being in the playoffs. Looks like we might have lost Frankie. So I don't know what the Central Division is going to look like once the season is over, but I do think the Colorado Avalanche are going to, be that team that wins it, and then the Dallas Stars will play the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. And Frank, it looks like you're back. So
Yeah, I was hearing everything you were saying. It's on my end, but could you hear me?
yeah, I hear you.
All right, we're good then. I don't know what happened. It's just the Wi-Fi symbol came up and we were gone, but I could hear you.
Yeah, and I'm looking on the live feed, and you just came back. So we're good. We're absolutely money. All right, Frank. Yeah, that's the Central Division. Those top 3 are the big dogs. The 3 of them better win their cup this year because the Minnesota Wild are coming. But it should be fun to see who comes out on top and who does well in the playoffs. So opposite problem on the Eastern Conference bubble. Every team sucks, and none of them want to make the playoffs. I mean, it's good for hockey that there are this many teams still believing that they're alive on March 20th. But it's like all these teams, none of them want to run away with it. Detroit wins 6 in a row. Then they put a patch on their jersey. I don't know how you put a patch on your jersey on a 6-game win streak. And the patch is for a garbage company. And then they start playing like garbage. They lose 6 in a row. And, they've won 1 since or 2 since.
It's the patch.
But it's 2 wins in their last 10. It's a garbage patch on the nicest jersey in the NHL, or one of the top 2. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. The Islanders won 6 in a row. They've stunk since. The Capitals are on the hot streak right now. But they're last in goals scored in the division, and they're second to last in goals for in the division somehow. That's the coach of the year if they make the playoffs. But the Devils, they smoked the Penguins, but now they'll get killed by Winnipeg tomorrow. They go on the Arizona-Vegas desert trip and lose both of them, but they smoked the Dallas Stars, who are one of the best teams in the NHL right before that. Just inconsistency from them. Buffalo had a putrid start, and every time they get within a point or 2 of the playoffs, they lose 2 in a row. They got killed by Tampa Bay yesterday. Or not killed. It wasn't Tampa Bay. It was Vancouver. And Rasmus Dahlin tried to win that game for the Sabres so bad and just couldn't get it done. The empty net goal ended up being the game winner. That's right. Elias Pettersson put one in the empty net, and then Dahlin scored again, so that empty netter ended up being the game winner. But, I mean, all these teams suck. None of them want to make it. They're all begging not to make it.
This is some of my favorite time of the year, too, when it comes down to the bubble race. Capitals and Islanders just on the outside looking in. Red Wings and Lightning just trying their hardest to hold on to that playoff spot. Nothing's for certain, right? The Capitals have been playing very well lately, and they are a threat to make the playoffs, despite each of us really counting them out for the first 3/4 of the season. They were kind of like in the Penguins territory. We're all like, oh, yeah, Ovi will just do what he's got to do. The Capitals will just stink. But now it's like, holy crap, they're really in it right now. And the Lightning, they've been playing incredible. Honestly, they've gone on a 4-game win streak, and in that 4-game span, they beat the Flyers, the Rangers, the Panthers, and the Knights. And they're like, this is honestly when the Lightning play their best type of hockey is March through June. Like we've seen it so many times in and out, and like the Red Wings, they stink. They're slipping out of the postseason. I'd bet my bottom that the Capitals end up passing them based on what I've seen the past couple of weeks. Right? Then you have teams like the Islanders and the Sabres, two teams who could make it, but the odds are stacked against them because it's hard to jump over a handful of teams this late in the year. But with Detroit slacking, honestly, anything can happen. And this is why the last month and a half is some of the best and most exciting in hockey, because remember that one year where it was just locked up? There was no excitement in these. It was boring. It's like, this is what you like. We don't know for certain what's going to happen. Probably sucks for some of the top teams. Because like if you're locked in and you know who you're going to play like a month from now, you could really start doing scouting for the postseason and stuff like that. But it's like, we kind of grind, and I'm all for it. I love this type of stuff.
Every team from Detroit, Washington, New York Islanders, Buffalo Sabres, New Jersey Devils, Pittsburgh Penguins. Those are all the teams within 7 points of a playoff spot. They are all a 5-game winning streak away from being pretty locked into a playoff spot.
Right.
If any of them rattle off 5 in a row, they're in. And that's why I can't count. Montreal, Ottawa, and Columbus, see you later. But I honestly think those teams, those 6 teams I just named, are a 5-game winning streak away from like really putting themselves in a good position. So none of them want it though.
The Capitals, VP.
You like
Watch
the
out for them.
Capitals.
Big game tonight against the Maple Leafs.
Yeah. Which
Huge.
I don't like them in that game.
Oh, I do.
I mean, I like my boy who we're going to talk about right now. Great segue, Frank. Great segue. Your boy, Alexander Ovechkin, 21 goals. He had 8 on Christmas.
Yep.
He has a 43 goal pace from Christmas to today. Something was wrong in the first half of the season, but he's back. He's probably going to have 30, or he'll get close to 30. It's going to be hilarious. And, you know, just like I said, 30 goals-ish as a 38-year-old.
Are they playing 100 games?
Next year, he'll probably get over 30, probably push 40. Wouldn't shock me if he breaks the record at the end of next year. Honestly, the way he's scoring right now, if he doesn't get hurt again and he continues on this current scoring trajectory that he's on right now, like if he would have started the season hot and feeling well about himself, he'd be for sure breaking the record next year. But, you know, he needs a big, because let's say, what is he at right now? He needs
21 he's at.
Yeah, he's at 21. But I mean, for the record here, I have it right here. To break the record, he needs, hold on, give me a second. I have plenty of tweets about it that I could just go back and find. He needs
Holding.
He needs 52 more to break the record. If he gets to 30, he'll need 41 more. So, yeah, he could do that next year. I don't think I'm still leaning towards the beginning of the 25-26 season by like October, November. But there's an outside chance he does it late next year, around this time next year. I'm not predicting that. I think, you know, I'm not certain a 40-goal season's in his bag next year, but I'm not ruling it out. I think it's crazy to rule it out with the way he's been scoring since Christmas. But, I mean, by this time next year, we should have a real good idea of when that's coming.
Pops is up to 21 goals this year.
Yep.
The problem was he's old. That's the problem. It was at the start of the season. He's old. Pops is look, I'm proud of Pops, right? He's back in the hunt. The Capitals are back in the hunt. Seems like Ovechkin's trying to find some new life here. But yeah, he'll get to 30 goals if they play 105 games this season. But the 2 goals the other night, congrats to him. It marked his 19th consecutive season that he's achieved 20 goals. 19 straight seasons he's achieved 20 goals, which it doesn't matter how good you are to score 20 goals in 19 straight seasons, but you also have to stay fairly healthy as well and not miss an abundance of time, which Alex Ovechkin's been lucky with. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reached that type of stat. But I mean, it's where we sit right now. Pops is scoring a lot more lately, and we'll see what he's got left in the tank for the rest of the year. I do not think he gets 30, but we'll see. He's been scoring a lot better as of late. So,
Do you recognize that something was off in October, November, and the early part of December, and like that was just an anomaly?
yeah, it takes a lot for an old man to get back on the ice after not playing hockey for how many months.
Okay, but
That's what went
do
wrong.
you believe he could put together another 2 20-goal seasons?
Yeah, I mean, he should, but maybe not. He's got one
I
guaranteed.
I'm
The second one's not guaranteed.
I'm feeling generous today, Frank. I came into this episode feeling real generous. Do you, Frankie Mueller, with 52 goals left to go, he'll probably be in the mid to early 40s away by the end of this season. Do you rescind your sinful, disgusting, unhockey fan-ish take that the Great Eight won't beat the Great One's all-time goals record? And if you agree to it right now, when it happens, I will not make fun of you. I won't even we'll pretend this whole thing never happened. I will be gracious. I won't even bring it up, but you have to agree to it today.
Absolutely not.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, I am going to barrage you. We will make Barroom Network graphics with your face on like a hedge from Game of Thrones, like you're Ned Stark. I mean, I'll find a video of Darth Vader slicing you. Your face will be on a youngling.
Wow.
I'm not you. You don't know what I plan on putting you through
And what if
when
the tides
Ovechkin
turn?
breaks the record, huh?
What if the tides turn? What if he
That's
doesn't?
on. Well, what are you planning to do to me? I don't know. That's on you. What do you think? I'm going to barrage myself? You have to come up with something.
That is,
But I wouldn't worry too much about it if I were you, because
you could tell like this was the first signs. Like, all right, Ovechkin is slowing down.
the
a bit.
first signs. He's got
He's
20
not-
goals in his last 35 games.
What?
I'm exaggerating, but it's close.
Okay, he's got.
He
like
had 8
13.
goals on December 23rd.
Yeah, he's got 13 in his
In
last however many games.
That's a lot. That's like a 40-something goal pace.
I understand that, but once again, another off season's gonna go by,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just no. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed. He's got 2 more. 20
Also,
more
riddle
seasons.
me this. Riddle me this. How much better is Connor McMichael now than he was in October?
What does that have to do with anything?
Everything. Ovechkin's a pure goal scorer. He has benefited in his life from playing with Backstrom and Kuznetsov. Like Wayne Gretzky benefited from playing with Yari Curry. Like you need playmakers if you're going to score goals. Like that's just like how much has Austin Matthews benefited from having Marner or Nylander? You know, Johnny T on the power. Like playmakers do help pure goal scorers score. If they signed like, I don't know who's going to be available this summer, but if they got like a premier number 2 center to come play with Ovechkin, I think 40 is absolutely possible.
Uh,
Like if they made a sick trade, I don't know who it would be for, but I don't know. I do think what Washington has built with some of their, he's going to end up leading them in goals. He's
Well, I mean,
two
that's
behind
not hard to
Strome.
do.
He's 2 behind. Yeah, but you're calling him a playoff team. If you lead a playoff team in goals, I mean, I don't think you're as that washed if you lead a playoff team in goals.
I mean, he's just not what he used to be, obviously.
No, of course not. Otherwise
And-
he probably would. If he was what he used to be and he had 50 this year, he'd be like 30 away going into next year.
And 52 seems so close. Let's say he finishes the year with 45 to go. And he gets
Probably roughly what it'll be.
and let's just say it's that, right? And he gets 20 next year, hopefully, right? Because I'm telling you, a year's a lot in the hockey world when you're 39 years old. A year ago, you get 20 next year, about 25 away. I don't think he gets 25 the next season. It'll be even tougher. He'll be in his 40s. It'll be even tougher to do. At that point, you're just broken down. You retire. Thanks for everything you've done, Ovi. It was great. You made a good run. We move on.
At 42 years old, or at 40 years old, Jaromir Jagr he scored 16 goals at 40 years old.
Okay.
At 41, he scored 24. At 42, he scored 17. At 43, he scored 27.
Hey, but everybody's different, my man.
Jagr relied a lot more on skating and finesse than Ovechkin.
Different teams.
Well, he kept rotating. Do I think Ovechkin's going to break the record with the Capitals? Yes. But that's not as much of a lock that I have him breaking it with the Capitals as I have him breaking the record in general. But if he needs to go beyond his current contract, which takes him to 41 years old, I do not think he will break it with the Capitals. But I think he breaks it either late next year or early the year after. 100%.
So what are you going to do when he announces his retirement at the end of the year?
If he announces his retirement before breaking the record, first of all, I won't feel as dumb as if he just played forever and still didn't do it, because I didn't see that coming. Nobody did. You didn't see that. Like, you wouldn't be right. Like, you would in the sense of he didn't break it, but you don't think that's the reason. Early retirement isn't the reason you think he's not going to break it. I just think he plays till he breaks it. Like, I think that plays a role in it too. Maybe my projections are a little over projected, but I just don't see him quitting with 5 to go, 10 to go. No shot. Not when I know that Jagr was able to score how many? In Jagr's age 44 season, he had 16 goals and 30 assists for the Florida Panthers.
So he's different.
He's different, but he's the same. He was obsessed with becoming the second all-time leading scorer, and he did it. Now, I hope Crosby passes him for second all-time. I do think it's possible. Well, that'll be a debate we have in episode number 450. But because you're going to say he's not going to, and I'm going to say he's going to, because he's going to have about 100 points left with about 2 years to go in his career. But and I'm going to pick he will. I don't know. I love this. This is my favorite segment we have, the Vinny versus Frankie Alexander Ovechkin debate.
One of us will be right.
One of us will be right.
Could you imagine if he got one away and he's like, I do not want to break it? I think.
Then I would just hate him forever. I would declare myself right. I would declare myself right. No, I wouldn't be right in the fact that he did.
I get the field, brother. I get if he pulls out or if he retires or whatnot.
Frankie's going to hire a hitman when he has 893. Frankie's going to hire a hitman.
If he got one away and says, I don't feel right doing this, I'm going to pull, I'd buy a jersey. Wayne
Gretzky's Canadian, hockey's Canada sport. Like, he deserves to have the record. He's the great one.
Oh my God. That would be one of the funniest things, maybe all time in sports.
No, there would not. He'd be a joke, in my opinion, for the rest of the time.
Oh my God. You would love him still. You don't even BS me.
When he breaks the record, I will buy a jersey. Okay. I will have Ovechkin's jersey once that happens. I'm very much looking forward. I'll probably get it before. I want to have it for the year leading up, but I want a red Capitals home jersey really badly.
It's funny.
Frank, we gave the Alexander Ovechkin update. Let's give a little college hockey update.
What's going on with it?
Big Ten championship is this weekend. Michigan is playing Michigan State on Saturday. Very, very cool for the Big Ten title. Kind of surprising. Michigan State's been the best team in the Big Ten all season long, but Michigan, no more Luke Hughes. A couple guys graduated off. Fantilli graduated off. But they still have Gavin Brindley, Big Ten Player of the Year. Seamus Casey, unreal year. Both Hobie Baker snubs, which we'll get to that in a minute. Kind of surprising. I thought they'd both be at least nominated because 10 guys are nominated. But they pulled over a big win against a little bit more skilled version of a Minnesota team. And they're in the Big Ten championship. They'll both of these teams, I think Minnesota and Wisconsin, those 4 teams will all make the Big Ten tournament. I think by what's his name signing with the Hawks, we know for a fact Notre Dame is not going to. And I thought he might have tipped the Korchinski shot yesterday, but clearly he didn't. But the semifinal of the NCHC, Omaha's playing North Dakota. Hockey East semifinal, Maine is playing Boston University. And, I forgot to say the other NCHC. The other NCHC, Denver's playing St. Cloud State. So the winner of Denver, St. Cloud State will play the winner of North Dakota and Omaha in the NCHC championship. Hockey East, Maine is playing Boston University. Massachusetts, UMass is playing Boston College. The winner of those 2 games will meet in the Hockey East championship.
Are they going to meet for a 4th time this year?
Yeah, I think so.
I do
hope.
too.
I hope.
That's crazy.
I hope so bad. And that game would obviously take place at the TD Garden on Saturday. But I think all 4 of these teams probably make the tournament. UMass might not, but at least Maine, Boston University, and Boston College will all make the tournament. The CCHA, Michigan Tech will play BemD State, and that's the championship. Let's see. The ECAC semifinal. Dartmouth is playing Cornell, and then St. Lawrence is playing Quinnipiac. So the winner of those 2 matches will play each other as well. And then the Atlantic Championship, RIT is playing, what are they called? AIC. So it should be really exciting matchup there as well. But obviously Hockey East and the NCHC, those are the ones that I'm most concerned with, because I do think one of those teams competing in that will probably be the national championship or Quinnipiac.
Don't doubt them.
But last week was, what's it called too? What is that one conference? I'm missing one. I'm missing a big one.
I don't know. I don't know the conferences that well.
Either way, I mean, I feel like I'm forgetting.
Is it the same way where if you win, you get an automatic bid?
Yes. Yeah. It's like you get your bids and then the at-large teams in the tournament. So once the tournament starts around, we'll be like heavy in on that. That's when our college hockey coverage thrives on this show, because we'll start breaking down like who we think is going to win what NHL players or potential NHL players are you going to see. I mean, when we talk about BC and BU, they're loaded. The other thing I wanted to do was read the Hobie Baker finalists. Let me pull them all up for you. Just give me 1 second. Looking for the So the Hobie Baker top 10 finalists. Jackson Blake of the University of North Dakota. He's a Carolina Hurricanes prospect, the one I thought should have gone back in the Jake Gensel trade, but he didn't. Macklin Celebrini, the upcoming number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NHL draft. Jack Devine of Denver. Cutter Gauthier of Boston College. Obviously, he's a Anaheim Ducks prospect following the trade from Philly with Jamie Drysdale earlier this year. Colin Graff of Quinnipiac. Lane Hudson of Boston University, obviously the Montreal Canadiens pick. Kyle McClellan of Wisconsin. Liam McKenzie of Holy Cross. Sam Morton of Minnesota State. And Will Smith of Boston College. There are some snubs. I thought Gabe Perreault would be a nominee. Ryan Leonard, I thought he would be a nominee. Seamus Casey and Gavin Brindley. Those are probably my biggest snubs so far. You got a Devils prospect, a Columbus Blue Jackets prospect, a Rangers prospect, and a Capitals prospect there. Oh my God. Can you imagine if Ryan Leonard and Ovechkin are on the same team? Holy shnikes. They're both goal scorers, though. I don't know if they would ever be on the same line.
Who would you give the edge to right now?
I think Celebrini's going to win. Yeah. My top three would be Celebrini, Gauthier, and Smith. That would be because the top 3 will be announced on 4/4, and the winner will be announced on 4/12. So those are your top 10 as of right now. Very much looking forward to it. Should be awesome. Frank, a couple house keeping type things we could just touch on here. Wayne Simmons is set to retire. They're going to honor him against their game against in their game against the New Jersey Devils in April. Obviously, Simmons played for the Devils in addition to the Los Angeles Kings, the Nashville Predators, and the Buffalo Sabres and the Toronto Maple Leafs. But he became mostly known during his time with the Philadelphia Flyers, who are the team that are going to sign him to his one-day contract, and he will retire a member of the Flyers.
15 seasons, 1,037 games, 526 points. Had a very good NHL career. Never the type of player to be explosive, compile 80-plus points, but his true glory days came when he was with the Philadelphia Flyers, where he would score 28, 29, 30 goals a season. And while when the Flyers were making the playoffs on a consistent basis and having those rivalry playoff series with the Pittsburgh Penguins nearly every year, that's because of Wayne Simmons. He helped that. Like, if Wayne Simmons doesn't become a Flyer, I don't think the Flyers become as successful as they were in the mid to early 2010s. Like, it's another player we watched avidly growing up, leaving the game now, retiring at a fairly young age as well, at 35 years old. 35 years old, but yeah, he's going to be missed. He true glory days, like I said, Philadelphia Flyer. He'll be a Philadelphia Flyer for life, and that's what I got for you.
100%. There was a 5-year period where he was a top 5 power forward in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could bank on him from 20 to 30 goals a season, net front presence on the power play. When you got Claude Giroux and Jakub Voracek on each side of the power play running the half wall, and a stud like Wayne Simmons just banking in people's garbage, it was a great weapon to have. And he was tough. He could fight. Kind of that 2010s, just dictionary definition of a power forward in the NHL. Like you said, he was never a superstar, but he was a very entertaining player for a long time. The Flyers don't perform nearly as well. If Wayne Simmons is your third or fourth best forward for any period of time, you were a pretty good team in the 2010s, especially during that 5-year window. Cup of coffee with a couple other teams. He was traded from LA. Not a lot of people know this. He was traded from LA to Philly for Mike Richards. And that was a Stanley Cup depth piece for 2 teams for the Los Angeles Kings. So I'm sure Simmer would have loved to stay with the Kings and win 2 Stanley Cups, but I'm sure he also loved his time with the Flyers, regardless of how things moved along. Frank, we talked about college hockey for a little bit. One of my all-time favorite college hockey players, TJ Oshie, 1,000 games in the NHL, split between the St. Louis Blues and the Washington Capitals. Oshie's one of my all-time favorite players. He's part of that Zach Parise, Patrick Kane, Team USA era, and I'll always remember him for that. What a player over the years.
Yeah, the 390th skater in NHL history to play in 1,000 games, the 41st active skater, and the 62nd U.S.-born skater to reach the 1,000 game mark. Capitals are going to honor him on Sunday when they take on the Jets. It takes a lot to get to 1,000 games in the NHL. We bring it up a lot, how you got to be good, but you also got to be healthy. TJ Oshie's been one of the most consistent players in the past decade and a half. Like, when you add TJ Oshie on your team and you're expecting anywhere from like 50 to 60 points, right? Now, obviously, this year has been a little bit different. We're finally starting to see him slow down a bit. He is 37 years old. His career probably doesn't have too much life left in it, but he's created a lot of memories for everyone. I'll never forget when I slept at your house, TJ Sochi, and we woke up, we set the alarm for the game, and what we witnessed was truly spectacular. He's making memories not only for Blues fans or Capitals fans, he made memories for every type of hockey fan, and I'll never forget it. It'll go down as a top hockey moment in my life, and it's great to see him reach that mark.
It absolutely was. I believe he was traded to Capitals from the Blues to get Troy Brouwer back in, former Hawk Troy Brouwer back to St. Louis. And then Brouwer ended up scoring the big goal against the Hawks in 2016 playoffs to eliminate them in Game 7. So TJ Oshie being traded to the Capitals directly eliminated the Hawks from the playoffs a couple years later, which is kind of funny, but also, or not funny, depending on your point of view. But TJ Oshie, go ahead.
Troy Brouwer also scored the game-winning goal against the Hawks when they played the Capitals.
Yep, that Sochi season, I believe. Yeah,
I think it
that's
was
true.
2016 or something, or 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
2016.
Oshie was always real good in the playoffs, even with the Blues. He won the Stanley Cup with the Capitals. He was a key contributor. You could argue he was their third or fourth best forward during that run. Obviously, American born, the shootout, man. I just watched it when he reached 1,000 games. I watched it. Um,
I'll never forget it.
the way they just kept throwing him out there, and the Russians are rotating between Kovalchuk and Datsuk, and the Americans just keep going Oshie. And there were a couple times where like Kovalchuk or Datsuk would miss, and he would miss too. But whenever he needed to score or the game was over, he scored. And then finally, he took advantage of Kovalchuk missing one, and he put it past Sergei Bobrovsky. And it's funny. It was Bobrovsky versus Quick, and then Kovalchuk and Datsuk for them, and then the Americans using Oshie. It was must see TV. We'll never forget that moment. That between that and him winning the Stanley Cup, and like I always tear up a little bit when a team wins a championship. I think about what it would be like if it were my favorite team, or like how happy I am for those fans and those people involved. But when Oshie went on TV and he talked about how his dad doesn't remember things too well these days, and it was like right after winning the stage, I think he told Catherine Tappan, like, "Oh yeah, my dad doesn't remember things too well these days." And I look over at our buddy Dylan and Joey, and two guys who you just don't expect to see crying. Both of them had tears. Like, what? TJ Oshie just revealed that on national TV after winning the cup. Like, it was pretty emotional. It made me even more happy that the Capitals won the Stanley Cup that year. Love TJ Oshie. Another guy whose jersey I'd like to have at some point, just to remember. I don't care if it's Blues or Capitals, just to remember how much I enjoyed watching him play. Earlier this season, we saw a formal submission for expansion in Salt Lake City, Utah. And in the last couple weeks, we have seen an ownership group led by former NHL player Anson Carter submitted for Atlanta. So their teams 33 and 34 are likely going to be, just like we said, Salt Lake City and Atlanta. What are your thoughts on Atlanta?
I really didn't have any thoughts on Atlanta, to be honest with you. I was more excited about the whole Utah thing in Salt Lake City. Atlanta, it'd be good to see them back to the what you think they'd be the Thrashers again?
No.
Really?
You know why? So I think third time's the charm for Atlanta, because they had the Atlanta Flames, and then they eventually had the Atlanta Thrashers, and both were failures. I think third time's the charm. Things are different. Atlanta is one of the bigger cities in the U.S. now. It's one of the most rapidly growing cities in the U.S. They're working on fixing their transportation problem because they're getting close to being overpopulated with no public transportation. If you don't drive your car, you can't get anywhere unless you're walking. Whereas Chicago has the L, trains coming in. Atlanta doesn't have any of that. So they're working on that. They're also working on expanding the highways to make them bigger. But, as these things start to get figured out, I think Atlanta will prove to be a good NHL city, because it's a good basketball city, good football city, and good baseball city. And all those teams have been successful. I think the NHL needs to be in Atlanta. I'm happy. I do not think they're going to be the Thrashers, because the Thrashers will go down as one of the biggest joke franchises in the history of sports, and they don't want that stink on them. I would actually be stunned if they're the Atlanta Thrashers.
I want to touch on the Utah, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Ryan Smith,
who been on the Pat McAfee show multiple times, youngest owner in sports.
Yeah, who owns the Utah Jazz. I think he's like 44 years old.
Yep.
He expressed interest in bringing a team to Utah. Now, Utah, it isn't a big hockey state, but why can't it be, right? Like, I'm always up for expanding. I'm just worried about eventually, like we talk about expansion a lot, I'm worried about eventually that there'll be too many teams. I do think there is such thing as having too many teams, but if you ask me what I thought in my head was too many teams, I don't think I would have a number, because I like the idea of new teams coming to the NHL. I like new franchises. It makes it exciting. It makes it fun. Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely does. I would cap. I like 40 as a number.
Like, you can't have like 65 teams.
No.
Then it's like, all right, now you're just getting a little ridiculous now. If you have 40, you obviously expand the playoffs a ton.
I think you should already. With 32.
Really?
Yeah.
You
Because
think more than half should make it?
Because 16 was the number when there were 22. 16 became the number when there were 22 teams in the league. They've expanded 10 times since expanding the playoffs to 16. It's time to make it 18 or 20.
I think a way to get around that is you implement a play-in tournament, kind of like the NBA does it,
Yep.
where you're not really in the playoffs, but it's still playoffs. Like you're past the 82 games, you're playing meaningful games past the end of the regular season. If you want to do that, that's fine. To me, you can't reward a real play-in or a real playoff spot like to those teams that are that bad, right? Like if we expanded right now this year, like who would be in it? Like
Um,
Minnesota and St. Louis from the West. It's like those teams really don't deserve to be there right now. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like let's have a play in between Nashville, Vegas, Minnesota, and St. Louis. And if you could take down Vegas or Vegas or Nashville, then yeah, you deserve to be in. Like I'm fine with that. But I think right now, I can't see that. I don't want to reward teams like the Blues to make the playoffs.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. The teams directly below them, though, would still be in it, though. That's the
What
thing
do you
that
mean?
also drives ticket sales and money and revenue. Like, okay, so right now it would be if you had a play-in series with Nashville, Vegas, Minnesota, St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, Calgary, Seattle would both believe they're still alive. Even though they wouldn't make it if the season ended today, they probably would have both handled the trade deadline differently. Like ticket sales would improve because teams are showing up to see if this team could end up making the playoffs. Like I named the teams that I think are still alive with the way things are right now, but if you had the play-in thing with your idea and Washington and the Islanders, Buffalo would be 2 points out, the Devils would be 3, Pittsburgh would be 4, even a
Yeah,
team
make
like
it
the
more
Habs.
competitive. That I
Yeah,
like though. I like the play-in
me
idea.
too.
I
Me
don't
too.
like the idea of expanding the playoffs to where they're just in.
That's fair. I think if you
Like
get
I
up
don't.
to 40, even 34.
Well, you have to then. If you keep expanding, you have to. But if you wanted to expand right now, the play-in idea to me is the only fair way to do it.
That's fair.
It would be so much fun. I love the play-in tournament. The Bulls are going to be in the play-in tournament in the
Yep.
NBA. It's fun.
I do think Salt Lake City will work. I think Atlanta will work. I want more people to like hockey, and that's a good way to do it.
It is like I said, Utah's not a big hockey city, but it can be.
Yeah, it's right below Canada. It's
Right.
got the climate. Young, vibrant owner. Um,
Imagine
I think it would
an
thrive.
outdoor game in Salt Lake City. Didn't that happen?
I don't
Did it
remember.
happen?
Not in the regular season. Oh, where's Lake Tahoe?
I thought Lake Tahoe was in Nevada.
Yeah, it is in Nevada. Um,
It's
yeah,
in
I
like
don't
the
know.
mountains area. It's like
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Salt Lake City, like it's beautiful city.
yeah,
You get some outdoor games there. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. You could have them play against the Atlanta team for all you know.
exactly. I mean, they did
Um,
that with the Seattle and Vegas.
exactly. All right, Frank. That's hockey for today. Good 2-hour conversation about hockey. Let's wrap the show up talking some other sports in period number 3. Welcome to period 3. Frank, March Madness starts tomorrow. Go through in your head right now what you're thinking, who you think is going to win, maybe each, because you're the March Madness expert on the show. I want to hear who you think, could come out of each region, who you think could win the whole thing, who you think could make it to the championship, any Cinderellas. Lay it all
Give
on
me
me.
a
We're all
second.
trying to learn. We're all trying to learn.
Give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna pull something up.
Okay.
Are you excited for March Madness?
Cannot wait.
It's obviously clearly the best time for college basketball.
Yes.
Stand by.
Frankie's loading up his bracket. Is that what it sounds like?
I'm trying. I'm trying. Here, I could just I don't have my bracket up, but now I have the whole bracket. UConn won it all last year. And to me, I remembered it after I was it kind of rang a bell, but if you would have asked me who won it last year, I don't think I would have got it. Like, does that make did you remember UConn won it all last year?
Only because it was like a sick comeback.
Okay, because like it was a very weird year. You had the 5th seed and the 4th seed last year. Doesn't happen too often. San Diego State versus UConn. Now UConn this year is a 1 seed. I don't love the idea of repeat March Madness champions. It's happened. The last time it happened was 2006 and 2007 when Florida won. And I think it's happened on 7 occasions overall. But I'm not a fan of UConn making it or winning it all. Wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the championship. I think Houston's got a very good chance of winning it all this year. It seems like Houston's always got a fairly decent team. I think North Carolina State could be a sleeper potentially. They're an 11th seed. North Carolina State, they won the ACC tournament. They took down number 1 seed North Carolina.
Oh, I saw the ending.
They beat Duke. They beat Syracuse. They are playing fantastic ball right now. I really do think the 11th seed North Carolina State could make a run. Got to get through Texas Tech, which I do think is very possible. I also think that the winner of the first 4 matchup tonight between Boise State and Colorado could make a decent run. I'm not a fan of taking teams in the first 4, right? They're in the first 4 for a reason. They didn't get a bid into the tournament. They gotta earn their way there. But something feels different. The winner of that plays Florida as a 10 seed. The 10 seed will play 7 Florida. I think they could upset there. I do. You'd be surprised how Cinderella stories happen out of the first 4. Fairleigh Dickinson, when they beat the 2 seed, they were in the first 4. I think there are 2 instances where teams that come out of the first 4 has made it to the final 4. It does happen, people. UCLA had to play their way in, and they made it to the final 4 in 2021, or I'm pretty sure it was. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Purdue's the biggest fraud of the tournament. They stink every year. They're always a top seed and they always lose. They lost to the 15th seed last year. They lost the Big Ten tournament. They didn't even make it to the championship. They're just Purdue. I'd always keep a lookout on them. They're always frauds. Not a big fan of Purdue. Big Ten teams in general. I have a feeling Illinois is going to choke as well. Not in the first round. They should beat Morehead State, but I'm going to give my edge here to Houston this year. I'm a big North Carolina fan. I hope they do well. Got to always watch out for Gonzaga VP. They're a 5th seed this year, but we know how the Zags play come March. It's like the Tampa Bay Lightning come April. They're always a team you got to watch out for. And Mark Few, great coach for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They're not the Bulldogs, right? Or are they the Bulldogs?
Yeah, they are.
Doesn't sound right though in my head when I say it. The Bulldogs. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting. It's a tough year. I'm expecting a lot of 11 seeds to prevail this year. I am. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets. Maybe not as many upsets as last year. I felt like last year there was like the most of ever. It just seemed like there was upset after upset, like blow after blow, a 14 seed, 15 seed. I don't know if we're going to get that this year because, I mean, we'll see. It is March. Anything can happen. But I'm looking forward to it. This is my time of year. This is where I thrive. Some of my favorite time of year. I'm gonna wake up 11:15 tomorrow's first game, Mississippi State and Michigan State. I can't wait. Like this is incredible.
Didn't a 1 seed lose last year in the first round for the second time ever?
The only time a 1 seed has lost was Virginia losing as a 1 seed, which was a few years ago. And then the other 1 seed that lost, was it Purdue? I think it was Purdue, but I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before because Purdue, Fairleigh Dickinson was a 15 seed when they beat Purdue. I know that. But I think the other 1 seed to lose was Purdue the year before, wasn't it? Could you
I just
fact check me
Googled
on
it.
that?
I just Googled it. It was Purdue last year. Top seeds own a 150-2 all-time record against 16 seeds.
Was
FDU versus
Fairleigh
Purdue in 2023 was only the second time it happened.
So they were I'm thinking of St. Peter's was a 15 seed. And they could have been Purdue again.
St.
Can you look
Peter's
that
was
up
from
for me?
New Jersey. I remember them.
And I think they beat Purdue, which is like Purdue's always the biggest frauds when it comes to March Madness. They can't, and they got Zach Edey. Zach Edey's a beast. He's a Sasquatch. This dude's huge, but they stink. Other than that, they just choke. They're not coached well come this time of year.
The
So
last time a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, that 1 seed went on to win the whole thing the following year, though.
they are not. I would bet my life Purdue does not win. I got them losing. I don't even know. I think I got them losing in the Sweet 16 fairly early. That or the Elite 8. Yeah, I don't. not high on Purdue at all. But another upset I think's in the Bruin. I think James Madison's going to take down Wisconsin. James Madison's a 12 seed. I think they're going to take down Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's playing over their head right now. They beat Purdue to get to the Big Ten championship, but I think James Madison's going to take that one, VP. I'm all for the upsets. I can't wait.
Shout out to PFT, big James Madison guy.
Is he?
Yeah. Beating Wisconsin would be a thrill for them. A 12 seed beats a 5 every year. Every year
really
there's
is
at
every
least
year.
one.
That's
There's
my
at least
pick
one.
this year for the 5 seed to go down. I think it's going to be Wisconsin. San Diego State's a 5 seed. I think they're fantastic. San Diego State's really good. Hence why they made it to the final last year, and they brought back some key pieces this year. They're very good.
Okay.
So yeah.
There you go. That's Frankie's March Madness advice for you as you get set to make your brackets before tomorrow. Frank, we don't have to go through everything because we're kind of running long, but let's touch on the offseason a little bit in the NFL. Justin Fields was just traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
Unbelievable.
now your Pittsburgh Steelers have Russell Wilson
God.
and Justin Fields. So the Bears are more than likely going to take Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick. A couple other moves made throughout the offseason. You got Derrick Henry going to Baltimore. Saquon Barkley chose the Eagles. All sorts of madness going on. Huh?
Kenny Pickett went to the Eagles. He'll be a backup.
Yep, for sure.
Sam
is there any
Howell
other?
to the Seahawks.
Yep.
I like Sam Howell a lot. I hope he does well in Seattle. Mac Jones to the Jaguars. A lot of quarterbacks moving around here.
A lot of
Jerry Jeudy to the Browns.
Hell yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, the Browns. You're a Browns VP. Keenan Allen to the Bears. And how about this one? How about Mike Williams to the Jets? Mike Williams, fantastic. He was on my fantasy football team. He was on my guillotine league until he got injured and was out for the season. But he's fantastic. Having Aaron Rodgers, more weapons for A-Rod. Whew.
I love that.
Crazy offseason.
You happy with what the Bears are doing?
I am. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the Bears right now.
Me too.
They are making all the right moves. Like, they're making me excited for football again.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm in the same boat. I'm excited. We'll get more deep into the NFL as the draft rolls around. I just wanted to get your initial reactions on the Fields trade and everything.
Trubisky went there too, so
and now Trubisky's back with your Bills. He's Josh Allen's backup.
They're jumping from team to team to team. My teams are just.
What if Justin Fields' third team in his career ends up being
my God.
the Buffalo Bills?
I'd shit a brick. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I could. Well, I'm excited for the draft. You can read all my mock drafts on USA Today's The Bears Wire. Very excited about that. Read all the articles too on everything else that's going on. Frank, what are you watching this weekend? Sports and not sports.
Well, March Madness, God-given fact. Favorite time of the year. So amazing. Got 4 episodes left of The Traitors.
Nice.
We're almost done with the first season, so I could start watching Dan in the second season. It's a great season so far. You finished it, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm all caught up on both.
Love the show. We've also been watching a lot of Deal or No Deal Island.
Yep. I'm 1 up behind.
Oh,
I didn't watch Monday, but that's a day and a half ago.
After the first episode, Joey texted me and told me how much he was loving the show. I'm like, Joey's not the reality guy here, so if he's loving it, it must really be good. I've been enjoying it. It's fantastic.
Me too.
I love any new type of reality show. When it comes on the TV and they're advertising Deal or No Deal Island, you better believe 2 weeks before that shit was set up for a series recording. Like, I have just been enjoying it so much. Boston Rob, a Survivor legend, has been fantastic. Oh, it's such a good show. But I'm interested to what you're watching because you told me yesterday. I can't wait to tell you what I've been watching. So lay it on me, VP.
So I haven't started it yet. But my next thing, like my solo nerdy Vinny thing.
Oh, no.
Avatar.
Really?
Joey is
the last Airbender.
Joey is balls deep in it already.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show.
But we were obsessed with the cartoon when we were kids.
Isn't that what you're watching?
No. On November 24th or on February 24th, Netflix released the first season of a live action of it.
Ah, I thought you were
And
talking about because the
oh,
cartoon is really good.
the cartoon's amazing, but the live action that's on my docket this weekend. That is what I am so
You
excited
haven't
to.
started it.
Haven't started it yet. I actually thought I was going to last night, and then the night got away from me. And you know about with the sheet and being kind of late and whatever. But I'm excited about it, and I was excited to tell you, like, dude, I'm gonna watch Avatar.
I'm gonna have to
Hell yeah!
watch it.
And then I have to
Yeah.
finish the Bad Batch. Those are my two nerdy things right now. I don't know if you saw the trailer for the Acolyte.
Yep.
That looks really sick
Fantastic.
too. That looks really cool.
The promo poster or picture was cool too. The lightsaber was blood.
Yeah, probably the
see it?
coolest Star Wars poster I've ever seen.
It was so cool.
Yeah,
I'm
that
excited
is
for that.
just badass. Yeah, I'm excited for the non-sports related things. Obviously, watching March Madness this weekend, college hockey championship games for conferences, the NHL, obviously.
Mhm.
Super stoked. There was a baseball game this morning.
Yep.
My
Dodgers comeback.
Yep, my baseball crush, Tyler Glasnow, got a big win over in Korea. Big 5-2 win for the Doyers in Shohei Ohtani's Dodgers debut.
She's a big Glasnow fan now.
He's my number. If I could pick any player and put him on the White Sox, it'd be Glasnow.
She likes him because he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Tyler Glasnow's my guy. I'm excited that he was able to, and he's just going to be so healthy with the Dodgers too. It's going to be hilarious because they're aliens over there in LA. But I looked at their starting lineup because obviously the game was over when I woke up. But I looked at the lineup and I'm like, Freeman or Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Will Smith is their top four. And Muncy was batting fifth. I'm like, this Dodgers team is disgusting.
It's crazy.
And Glasnow's on the mound. Yeah, just a disgusting team. Unreal. Can't wait
woke
to
up
see.
to pee and they were down 2-1 in the middle of the night. And I checked. Then when I woke up, they won 5-2. They had the 4-run 8th inning rally.
Hell yeah.
And they do it
Love
again
that.
tonight. Overnight.
Yep. I think 3 a.m. our time or 4 a.m.
5.
Our fantasy baseball league isn't starting with those games included. Which
That's how it was last year.
Yeah, well, we always do it like that because
That's fine. I won the championship. It worked out before. We'll do it again.
Yep. I'm excited about it. I can't wait. Fantasy baseball full gear for those who are participating this year. Frank, great show. I wanted to touch another thing. I'm not watching it this weekend. I'm listening. I already started. My all-time favorite podcast, Section 10, is back unexpectedly. Yesterday, it was just a shock. They announced it to the world. Nobody knew it was coming. They are back with the same original cast, and that is one of my favorite things to ever happen to me in terms of like my interests. I started it, and I was just smiling the whole time on my way back here earlier, and I just can't get over how happy I am that the Section 10 podcast is back. I'm all in on the Red Sox again this year as a result. Oh, my God. My Red Sox fandom, I'm a White Sox fan, but my Red Sox fandom as like my number 2 team could not be higher. It's as high as it was in 2018 when I first started listening to Section 10 in 2017, but 2018 was that year they didn't lose. And it was the funnest year to listen to the show. I'm all the way back. They're probably going to be mediocre. I don't think they're going to be that good, but I just can't wait to roll through the summer with the Section 10 podcast and the Boston Red Sox. It is going to be elite fun. Elite fun.
That's awesome.
I can't do the intro that I do every now and again anymore, though.
What is
about being a certified G and a bona fide stud? And I can't do it as long as Section 10 is active. That's their thing. That's not our thing. I only did it as a nod to them while they were gone, thinking they were never going to come back. But now I can buy more Section 10 merch, and I want to go to Fenway Park and sit in Section 10. But we shall see. You know what time it is.
Oh, of course, VP.
You know what time it is?
I think so.
What do you
It's
think?
4:53. Oh.
It's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week. Breaking Bets. Frank, the floor is yours.
4:54. What do you mean what time it is? It's 4:54.
Get on with breaking bets already.
BP, back-to-back weeks, we have swept. We are right on the door of being over 50% again. We are sizzling. Absolutely sizzling. I swept last week or 2 weeks ago, and then 3 weeks ago, I thought I swept maybe. I'm pretty sure I did. At least 2 for 3, but anyway, fantastic it's been. Now's the time. If anybody's watching, jump on some of these picks. Starting it off in the NHL, the Maple Leafs against the Capitals. VP doesn't like the Capitals in this game, but the King Bean loves the Capitals money line in this game. Plus 120 for 2 units. They've been on fire lately. These games mean more to the Capitals right now than it does the Leafs because they're just scratching and clawing, trying to get in the postseason. On home ice with the Capitals as dogs, the way they're playing, I got to go for it. The Maple Leafs have been so mediocre the second half of the season. They really haven't been impressing me too much. This one to me is a no-brainer. I think anyone who's looking for a bit of value will be siding with the Capitals tonight. The way they're playing, can't pass up on it. Capitals money line plus 120 for 2 units. Secondly, this line may have changed, so just bear with me a sec. I want to get the correct line on this game. It's between Colorado and Boise State. It'll be the last first 4 play-in game before March Madness starts. It starts tonight, 8 p.m. Central time or 8:15 Central time. The line did change, so I'm going to update it. We're going to be going with Boise State plus 3 at minus 105. Bet to win 2 units. Colorado has not played well on the road this year. They boast a 4-7 record on the road. Boise State holds a 7-3 road record. Now, these records don't include neutral play wins and losses, but if you're playing on a neutral court, you're not playing at home. You're playing on the road in my eyes. So Boise State's a very good team, and you could argue based off of the amount of big wins they've had this year, they have 6 quad 1 wins. They were rated 26 in the net rankings. They could have easily avoided playing in this playing game. So with all those reasons I just stated, I will gladly take Boise State plus 3 points at a neutral site. March has begun. I can't wait. Plus 3 is minus 105. Bet to win 2 units, which leads me to my third and final pick in the NBA. It has to do with the Miami Heat facing off against the Cavaliers. It's in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell will be out once again in this game. And Jimmy Butler's questionable. He was shooting the ball around earlier today, so that's a good sign. I think he's going to play. So when you got Jimmy Butler and potentially Bam Adebayo, who's also questionable, and Terry Rozier, you should be able to beat a banged-up Cavs team, right? However, you should never take the Cavs lightly with Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, highly talented players. But with Mitchell out, I just think when Jimmy Butler plays and the Heat are trying to climb out of the play-in tournament and into a playoff spot, they will get up for these big types of games. Heat plus 2.5, minus 112, bet to win 3 units. Those are my picks for you.
Good work, Frank. You did a good job. Hopefully you get over that 50% mark. This is the week. This is the week. Really quick before we go, can you picture Shohei Ohtani's his interpreter?
Yeah.
You could picture his face.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
His name is Ipe Mizuhara.
Yeah.
He has been fired by the Los Angeles Dodgers after Ohtani's lawyers confirmed the stealing from Ohtani in relation to a gambling problem.
So
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I thought that guy and Ohtani were like best friends.
I did too. I thought they knew each other personally. Which
I think they did. They
did.
He was going back to the Angels. Like, that's crazy. He's been Ohtani's longtime interpreter.
Well, interpreters. Yeah, I mean, you could get new ones. I mean, you know what I mean?
For sure. Just huge news in the baseball world. Good show, Frank. Very, very good stuff.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun, VP.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody watching. We enjoyed talking to you about the trade deadline, what's going on in the NHL world, March Madness, all of it. If you're just tuning in, make sure you go back and listen. We will be on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all of it. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find Bardown. Frank, it's been another pleasurable show. I'm very much looking forward to next week as well. Make sure you stay tuned on Twitter at The King Bean, at Vinny Parisi, at Barroom Network for all things related to this show and the other great shows here on the network. And for Frankie Mueller at The King Bean on Twitter, I am Vinny Parisi, at Vinny Parisi on Twitter. Thank you for listening.